Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast.
Go!
Remember to check us out at Superfun Podcast on Twitter. Also, Facebook.com/SuperFunPodcast, Patreon.com/SuperFunPodcast, or you can always email us at superfunpodcastgo@gmail.com.
G-Man lives.
Go ahead. I am your host tonight, Steve Findom Smith. To my left, we have Ralph DiStefano.
Spontaneous human combustion.
Good point. Across from me, I have Matt Baby Cakes Hamill.
$500.
To his left, we have Harry Rodriguez Bowles.
I have $500 I don't know what to do with.
And to my direct right, we have Matt the Clark.
My mitochondria are more powerful than your mitochondria.
All right, well, if you haven't picked it up from the last episode or what we've been talking about already, our game for the night is Parasite Eve. Mitochondria. All right. Well, let's get...
That's the official theme song. We're going to get sued.
I think that's better than the official theme song. Thank you.
Patent pending, trademark, copyright.
Taking shots
Steve
already.
Smith, we got this covered. All right, let's jump right into initial thoughts. Ralph, your initial thoughts.
I didn't know much about Parasite Eve going into this. I think I knew that it was Square, and it was around the same time as Final Fantasy VII and Chrono Trigger, or at least their development was around the same time. I played it. I enjoyed parts, but I don't love it. The end.
Well, that's a good start. Baby Cakes.
Hey, so I remember around when this first came out, I tried it, couldn't get past the first enemy, and didn't want to start over, so I did not. I swore I would never play this game, but went back to it. Good times.
Now here you are,
Here I am.
Mr. Rodriguez Baus.
Go. Sorry. It's the premium.
I dropped my monocle.
It's the premium. No, so I played this game.
Sorry.
Don't apologize. We're good.
All right, so I played this game quite a bit as a kid. I actually had pretty fond memories, so I was pretty excited to pick this up again. And there was a lot going into this game that I like. We'll get into it later, but the whole tool system, I had a lot of issues with.
You're a big fan of the tools.
You have issues with tools?
I didn't understand it when I was younger, but now I have a bigger,
I
have
didn't
a fuller grasp of the.
Self-deprecation.
You
I
have a
didn't
full grasp
understand
of the
it
tool?
now.
I fully understand the tool now.
Yeah, when he was young, he didn't know how to use the tools properly.
But
and
now
that he's
at
older.
50, he
We're
got
still
it.
talking about wrenches and, like, fixing
Well, it just
guns.
says tool in the inventory.
So anyway, I had a lot of fond memories of the game. It was fun playing it through again, and I enjoyed it for the most part.
I know the pieces fit because I
And on that note, Clark Main.
I had never played the game before. I heard about it in passing. I knew it was a Squaresoft game. And honestly, this first time playing it, I actually am like kicking myself for not having played it earlier. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Lucky you.
For myself, this is something that I had.
I think it's the ending, Ralph.
maybe
Could be.
Ooh.
Could be.
Shots fired.
Pew pew.
Pew pew.
Just like The Last of Us.
This was one of my favorite PlayStation games growing up, and I was so glad that everybody was on board to play this when I brought it up, and now we're here, and I'm really excited to hear what everybody has to say about it. So there's our initial thoughts. Let's jump right into game development.
Game development.
Anybody have comments right off the bat before I start picking you out?
I can just say that originally it was based off a book. Mm-hmm. Somebody wrote it, and they made a game.
Really?
off of it.
Wrote a book?
Yeah. You mean with words and everything?
Like letters and
On
stuff.
a typewriter?
Yeah. I don't think it was a typewriter.
No, but I think this was like a direct sequel to that book.
No, I think it was based off the first book.
It was
No. The first book, they actually mentioned some of the details of the original
Is that
story.
what happens in Japan? Is that the first
Yeah.
book?
That's why Maida comes over and explains, like, hey, this happened in Japan before. This is the outcome. let's prevent that from happening more or
Interesting.
less again. So this is like a direct sequel.
And it's
So-
the movie based on the first book.
I didn't know there was a movie.
There's a movie.
Yeah,
There
it's
is a
it's a
movie.
Japanese movie. I believe it is based on the book.
Yeah,
Sweet.
the movie was based off the book, and then the game was kind of based off the movie, which was based off the book. That's pretty much the way.
Where are you basing your information from?
Wikipedia.
Memory.
Yeah,
The look on his
That's
face
pretty
says
much it.
memory.
It's
Maybe-
premium info.
Oh my god. Maybe Japan's just weird like that.
oh,
Maybe.
it all comes full circle.
Well,
Son
it
of a
did start in
bitch.
Japan.
Well, I think with the development, they obviously you picked up things that they had in the Final Fantasy series a little bit, just with some of the development, not quite, the type of, battle structure.
Yeah.
I don't want to delve too much into that
Yeah, it's gameplay,
right
right.
now, but that's you could definitely tell there was a little bit taken out of that since Square already had Final Fantasy VII under their belt, and they were kind of working on other projects, but it kind of brought it in.
Yeah, well, I mean, in general, this game reminded me a lot of Final Fantasy VIII in its art style, and I think even some of the sound effects, like when she heals herself, it sounded like it was ripped straight from Final Fantasy VIII. You guys can correct me if that's wrong.
No, that sounded correct.
Yeah.
I had that same
Yeah.
inkling when I heard it.
Okay, but what about hard facts? Harry, do you have any hard facts when it comes to the development of this game?
So Hironobu Sakaguchi, big name when it comes to the Final Fantasy franchise, delved into this project as a side project. It's pretty well received, and it was like a financial success for the company as well. This was like a booming time for Squaresoft as a whole. They were just pumping out titles left and right, and it was just success after success after success. And this didn't fall short within their collection as well. But no, I think you could definitely see that influence if you played like some of the PlayStation era Final Fantasy games. You could see that style, like you said, the sound effects. I think like the CG cutscenes, the plot line, like the leveling up system. Like there's definitely a lot of influences I feel from the Final Fantasy franchise to this game.
If it didn't say Squaresoft at the beginning, we would play it and know that it's a Squaresoft game. I
Yeah.
mean, it's got all the tropes, all those stylings. It's there.
Now, speaking of Squaresoft, this is something I did notice with a lot of their games. Do you notice like they have an interest in like the opera? Like how many opera
Oh,
scenes
yeah.
can you think of in
Yeah.
different Squaresoft games?
So
Mhm.
I initially in that first segment, and we can get into this later, I don't know, but I was picking up some big Final Fantasy VI feels, even though that's a 2D game.
Mm-hmm.
The opera and Square, I thought Final Fantasy VI. It's true, and even some of I know the sound effects aren't the same as what's on the Super Nintendo, but like the opera singing, and I mean, I guess Eve just like bursts into song and all the time or whatever. I mean, I kind of interpreted it as that, like she was actually singing throughout, not as like the theme for Eve, but definitely picking up operatic themes. I don't know why they seem so obsessed in that chunk of time.
Not
From like 1994 to 1990.
I bet you it was directly influenced. I think the people that were involved in the company at the time were like heavily interested in
They just
opera.
liked opera.
And
Okay.
like they probably like that what's that form of art more or less.
Opera's an art form, sure.
and not jumping too far ahead, like into further segments. I think they really kind of capture that in the FMGs, like FMV. I'm sorry, where they really paid a lot of attention and detail into having the music and like the video kind of correspond with each other a little bit, and where they put a lot of effort into that compared to other games at the time.
No, I was
Well,
I think
okay.
the FMVs look pretty good for this.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it
they
was
did.
it was Square, so
Yeah.
they really were at the forefront.
No,
for
yeah,
everything.
please,
I,
rebuttal.
I didn't like the cutscenes.
Really?
Actually, yeah. Well, maybe specifically to the normal human character models. I mean, I guess for 1998, because I have no nostalgia for this game. I didn't play it then.
Mhm.
I'm not putting it side by side with Final Fantasy 7 and 8, and looking at that. But even next to like 8, I don't think this game really pulls it off as well. And that could be budgetary reasons. That could be who they had on staff for this game. I think a lot of the concepts and the way that they're brought to life in the cutscenes is interesting, but I don't find them that appealing.
Well, this isn't as big budget as Final
True.
Fantasy.
True.
And for an 8-hour, 10-hour game, this has a lot of cutscenes. Like, even if they are kind of short, this had more cutscenes than almost any game that I can think of that's around like that.
How long's Metal
type.
Gear Solid? We're pushing more
there
like
are not
15 hours.
Yeah, but there's not that many FMVs.
There
are
aren't
no
there
FMVs.
aren't any in Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that I would consider in Metal Gear Solid an FMV is when they're showing the nuclear testing, but that was kind of more like a live
Stock footage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, one thing I did pick up on this game, Squaresoft as a company, this was their first M-rated game ever made.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
They
I
were-
think you could see as you're playing through the game, there's a very heavy adult theme.
Oh yeah,
To-
absolutely.
yeah,
It's a rather gory game.
Yeah,
True.
Not necessarily the combat or anything, but like in those videos when things are transforming and just like slabs of skin are falling off of eyes and they're splitting apart and things like that. Gory in a way that Square hadn't gone to.
Well, you pick up with that right off like the first hour or so in the game. I mean, the first thing that really identified with me of like this is completely different is when the rat changes. Where you just see the rat, he stands up, he's looking around a little bit, and then basically his fur and skin turns inside out, and he becomes a mutant. His tail splits off into 3, and this becomes like a demonic creature. I mean, there's like almost no games that really go that in detail of showing of what the hell is going on by this point, and then it does not let up for the entire game. All right, so let's get into the story.
Story.
Go.
We found our catchphrase.
Yeah,
Get
go.
used to it, people. This is going to happen every episode. We love you.
Who wants to talk about the story? Okay, so basically there's this cop, and she's blonde, and she goes on this date with this yuppie, and she doesn't really want to be there, but she's there. And then all of a sudden, people start bursting into flames and spontaneous human combustion, and people are melting, and it's visually appealing. And then she
Well,
You
it's
didn't sell me
appealing.
on it,
now
Ralph.
now it's appealing.
It's visually appealing.
It's visually appealing.
It is it is visually appealing.
Well, let's be honest. It kind of got her out of a second date, so it's okay.
True.
She didn't have to say no. He just burned up
just
and
takes the
died.
murder of an
Yeah.
entire audience.
Didn't
Yeah.
Like
didn't
wearing
he
a dress.
actually get out?
No, I think he died. He bought it.
No, somebody mentioned they saw him leaving, like a little weasel or something.
Oh, he snuck out before he was hurt.
I think
Daniel
Daniel
says
said
that.
it.
Yeah, he lived. So there may be a second date.
Well, there
Oh,
may be a
God.
second or third Parasite Eve, too.
Oh.
It's not going to happen on the podcast because the second one's a waste of time. Not getting into that just yet, but
No, we should judge it later.
yeah.
So yeah, the story.
All right, so based on the beginning of the story, which you described, she's at the opera. Once Aya gets a look.
Yeah, how
at
do you say it?
Eve-
Wait, how do you say it?
How do you say that? Is it Aya?
I say Aya.
I say
Aya?
Aya.
All right, we'll
Aya.
say Aya.
I say.
He sings it every time.
She locks eyes with Eve, and then everybody kind of just starts bursting in
Melting.
flames. And one of the things I really enjoyed right at the get go is like to show that, hey, this is going to be about Aya, whatever. The
Just
guy
pick one and stick to it.
Gygus.
just to kind of show it's going to be about her and not the guy. She literally just pushes him out of the way.
Oh, I like that.
Get out of here, you pussy! I'm taking over. Let's do this. And
She wears the pants and the gun.
yes, and she starts just everybody's burning, and she starts running into action, trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Well, she is a cop. And
Yeah,
apparently
right.
badass.
Oh,
Which
in a
I will
dress.
say, just in that opening scene, did anybody else notice when, what was her name? Melissa, who is basically taken over by Eve, like how the iris wasn't quite right in her eye? Like it was kind of scattered a little
Nah.
bit
Yeah.
when she was looking at her. And then when she locked eyes with her and it went back to, who the opera singer was, basically Eve, it changed after that. a little bit just to show that there was that little bit of a difference. I don't know. It's those small little nuances throughout the entire game is something that I really appreciate.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I actually know what you're talking about. It looked like an unfocused lens. Like the flare off of an unfocused lens. And then as soon as they lock eyes and it goes back and forth, then it's like a regular focused eye. It's pretty cool.
I gotta say, just personally, the whole concept of a spontaneous human combustion, I know that in the game they flesh it out as the mitochondria have 200,000 volts of electricity and can fry a body like it's nothing, but in the real world, in our world, spontaneous human combustion was always something that's like, that's kind of interesting. How does that happen? Is it a complete scam? Is it, somebody gets murdered and then they like cook them and then they put their leg like next to a chair? Because has everybody seen pictures of like so-called spontaneous human combustion where someone like lives in an apartment by themselves and one day someone reports that, I haven't seen so-and-so in a while, and the cops break down the door and there's like a chair and ash and like a leg with a shoe. And nobody knows what happened or what, like they think that something can go wrong with the human body and actually like cook itself. But the whole idea of spontaneous human combustion in a video game, to me, I think is great. And it's really interesting the way they explore that and then they go into it. But right from the get-go, in the first day, the first chapter, like spontaneous human combustion, I was hooked.
When Lighting Farce Goes Wrong, Volume 3.
No, I will say, story-wise, just to criticize it a little bit, though, it was very heavy on the technical terms. And, like, they really needed to get into, like they must have done...
Mitochondria.
No, I understand, but I think they...
Mitochondria and nucleus.
I know, but they went into all these, like, theories of how it functions and why it's reacting this way and how it's evolving. Like, I think somebody who's just playing it for the enjoyment could technically get lost or miss out on details just skimming through this stuff. Because I had to actually really slow down and read this stuff just to make sure that
how much of it's real, though. I mean,
I understand,
but is pretty.
But just to understand the storyline or where they're where this is like coaxing them to go next, I really wanted to understand these things. So I was really spending the time to try to like make a point of listening to it.
The terms that they're using, I'll say the first time I played through, I was about 12, 13. I had no idea. Mitochondria, okay, that's inside your body. But with the way, like, actually playing through it again was we're having a different understanding of, okay, so it's...
Now that you have your degree in...
Biology.
Yeah, no. All right, don't judge me.
No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing you.
No, that's fine. No, I'll throw my headphones off now. Fuck you, Ralph.
What I mean is, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't done much study of the human body, since high school. So
no,
I mean, I remember mitochondria. I didn't remember their function.
It's been that long for you?
What?
Since high school.
Since
He's calling you
since
old.
you studied the human body?
Yeah, okay. I walked into that one.
You did.
The game came out 1998. So let's put on we'll go medium level. We're all about 11, 12 years old. So if we played it when it first came out, I'm going with average, okay?
Yeah. I probably wouldn't have known what the hell they were talking about.
No, exactly. We were just playing because there were scary monsters. You got to shoot them. It was a little freaky. But then when you're a little older and it's like, oh, I have a little bit of an understanding of, science. I actually took biology in high school, whatever it is. You can see where they start talking about mutations and about stuff on a cellular level. It's a little bit different.
Hamill, go.
So
Go!
I'm a moron. And when
We know.
I have to ask this. In Star Wars, what is it that makes you a Jedi?
Midichlorians.
Okay, so
Not the same as mitochondria.
So when I first was starting this,
No, don't do this.
Boy.
Squaresoft, a Lucasfilm game.
that I kept seeing mitochondria and it just wasn't clicking, and so I had to ask my wife.
Master Qui-Gon, I was wondering, what are midichlorians?
I had to ask my wife, who does have a degree in biology.
No, really?
Yeah, because she's a doctor.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had to ask her, are mitochondria real?
Oh, boy.
So
she said, "Oh, honey."
No. There's
Well,
this,
no,
there's
she
a silent
looked-
pause when she looks over and just looks. Really?
So to sum,
close. Very close.
I'm
so
gonna
to sum
need-
that up, mitochondria, real. Midichlorians, ruin franchise mysticism.
destroyed
Nah,
the
but
Force.
she looked me dead in the eye and was like, yes. And
Do you
I
have a
felt
question?
dumb.
Matt,
So-
go earn that $500. I'll be back by 5.
But yeah, that's the end of my story with the mitochondria. Okay, so there was one thing that when you're in the opera house, you first fight Eve, and then she escapes through downstairs.
The giant hole.
Yeah, and you get a choice to either go down the hole or go meet up with the cops.
Don't go in the hole right away.
Why? What happens if you go to the cops?
You
can
get
free ammo.
You get free ammo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I used the Billy Club for the first half of the game, so I was cool with that.
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
That's good, but at the
I
same
never used the
time,
club once.
That's the one great thing about this game, because it is an RPG, but it's almost like the first open world RPG where you can kind of choose your own adventure for it.
Right.
Where you don't have to do it. It's not like a guided path to go, hey, you have to go here to continue.
I kind of
Well, I
think
mean,
it's
you
pretty
do
linear,
have to
though.
go.
I think it was
Well,
very
okay.
linear.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
it's
you
super
still
linear.
have to, but you still have
There
the
is
option to go
choice.
explore before you have to, especially right off the bat, where it gives you an option. Do you jump down the hole or don't? And if you don't, you can go explore a little bit before you make that commitment to jump down and take that next step. Where it's, okay, not quite open world, but think about it in the terms
I mean, that's
of,
actually pretty common, I feel like.
In
in,
RPGs,
in
especially.
1998.
In
Yeah,
RPGs,
in RPGs
yeah.
at the time, sure.
Name another one.
Any Final Fantasy.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8, Final Fantasy 9.
Like
Okay, 8 wasn't out yet, so 7.
okay,
before,
7,
so
6, 5.
Yeah.
6-5. We're not going to get in Final Fantasy debate right now, but okay, for the first one for PlayStation, fine. Before you actually have, a choice between that.
In the Final Fantasy for the Super Nintendo, when you're going around, like one of the problems I had with one of 2 or 3 or something was
Wait, do we
when you get
Yeah,
No,
wait,
I'm just-
what
no,
happened?
I'm saying with the
I
open
asked for an
world
example.
aspect.
It's
it's
valid.
relevant. In the Super
Final
Nintendo,
Fantasy 3 for
you
the Super
actually-
Nintendo. Go!
like it to get to the next part, you go into the open world, and you could go to other places and get
Yeah,
side
you get in
quests
an
and all.
airship and you go here
Yeah,
and
so,
there and figure it out.
This is a really small RPG compared to Final Fantasy, and I never played Chrono Trigger or any of those other ones. I don't know what the sides or Dragon of Lagoon or whatever the hell it is.
God, you just
Dragon of
crapped on my
Lagoon.
soul.
Sorry, but I don't know if there's side quests in those. But RPGs, it's pretty common to have that. You could go back and kind of just look around and make sure you're not missing anything before you go on.
I guess I'm just looking in the world of PlayStation.
Okay.
All right, so real quick, what do you guys think about the characters? The big 3, Aya, Daniel.
Damn, Daniel!
Daniel!
Yo, Daniel is a pimp right
Back
off
at
the
it with that
bat.
mitochondria again.
And then did you guys pronounce it as Maida?
Maida.
Maida?
Made it. No,
Maida.
that's Medea.
Oh God.
Mate.
The whole time I feel like there's some big jokes in there.
Anytime I saw that come up, I'm like, Medea's a scientist. It's like, where the fuck is Tyler Perry?
No.
Oh, see, I always called him Maeda.
Maeda?
Maeda.
Meta. I really think that Daniel is just a carbon copy of Danny Glover from the Lethal Weapon series and
I'm
Predator
getting
2.
too old for this shit.
He's pretty much and what's funny is I actually started to read the dialogue and I imagine how Danny Glover would have delivered his lines. I just kind of, even with him pulling out a revolver and spinning it and shooting, the whole thing is straight from Lethal Weapon, at least in my interpretation.
I just saw, whenever I saw the name pop up, I just thought Medea. Tyler Perry. And that's it. And that
but not-
almost
You made that point 2
that
Not-
that almost kind of
Not the scientist,
Or
her partner.
not ruined it. I think it almost made it a little bit better in my inner monologue, which I will not repeat because I don't want to be that guy. But it made it more fun for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, Daniel is one of my favorite characters ever. All right, so on my notes here, every time I wrote something about Daniel, I started it with "Damn Daniel," and at the end I wrote "Wild Card," because here are the 4 things I took from Daniel from the whole thing. First time you meet Daniel, he fucking punches a reporter who's questioning Aya.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. And that's straight from Predator 2. I'm pretty sure Danny Glover does that, like punches a reporter and like hurts his hand.
And he's just straight like I the first time you see the character, the reporter's talking to Aya, and he just comes up from the side and just fucking sucker punches the reporter. And I was like, all right, I'm interested. Who's this guy? the next
Daniel's the best character in the game.
he is.
Oh, for sure. He for
next-
sure is.
The next thing I wrote about him was on day 2 or 3. I think it's day 2. You go to the gun store. And
Oh yeah.
my favorite quote is when Aya goes to open the door and she says it's locked. Daniel starts shooting the door.
He doesn't even wait for her to leave. She just she ducks.
She ducks like the fuck. And Maida goes, "Are you really a cop?"
Yeah, that's an amazing part.
And when he asked that, I said, "No, he's a fucking wild card."
Wild card, bitches.
So then I have in day 5, Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
When you see the doctor again, and you're talking to him, and I think he's gonna stab Aya with a scalpel.
Yeah.
Dr. Clamp, just to
He like
specify.
John Cena's that bitch. He
John
comes flying
Clamp.
He
in.
comes up and slaps the shit out of the doctor, and I just start screaming, "Wild card!" And then the last thing Daniel does, his heroic moment, if these are not already,
This was a
heroic
cool
moments.
cutscene, by the way. That
This
you
is a
definitely
great
missed out on.
cutscene.
Ralph.
In day
well-
6, when you're fighting Eve, you just can't seem to, or not Eve. You're fighting.
No,
the-
you're not even fighting Eve.
You're fighting
you're
the
fighting the
ultimate
supreme
being.
being.
Yeah.
Before you delve into that, can I say one line before?
Yes.
So,
Is it about Daniel?
Yes.
Then please do.
Okay.
I have one too.
So this made me laugh because this has been like a catchphrase this past year in like a lot of Vine videos and everything. And so Maida's telling Daniel about the bullets that have her cells in them to fight that ultimate being or whatnot.
Hot.
And he responds with, "What are those?" And I was like, fucking yes.
oh my god.
I was like, they started it a decade before that ever became popular.
A decade, try about like
Yeah, that's
15
probably
now.
like-
almost 20 years.
Yeah, wow.
So
Way to be old, bitch.
one
Don't
of my
date yourself, Steve.
one of my favorite quotes from Daniel is he's talking to Aya and he's like, "You're my best partner. I'll be by your side always." He literally immediately does a 180 and walks out of the room before she goes and fights a boss. This was the funniest thing. I was like, "Are you fucking serious?" Like, "I'll be by your side always."
So
Right over there.
Yeah. So let's talk about that last scene real quick. Did we actually?
No. He was gonna
Yeah.
continue.
So you fight Eve, and then afterwards you get the ultimate being or whatever that's born. You see all that, and you're fighting it. You can't quite kill it. And Maida, right before he left, was trying to give Aya something, and Daniel was like, "No, we gotta go. We gotta."
Which-
bounce."
Oh, he
Yo.
was like manhandling the shit out of
He
him,
was.
too.
So I actually have a note about that, and it's more towards Maida's character than anything
Medea?
else. That dude,
Medea. I know. Thank you, Ralph.
that dude needs to fucking use his goddamn words, because literally Daniel's like goon arming him. and Maida doesn't say a damn thing.
No.
He's like I'm wiggling
What was he
around
like?
right now.
I'm sorry. What was he like?
Like he just
Got it.
literally he's just being goon armed. And it doesn't say anything like, "Oh, I have these special bullets. They'll probably help Eve like win
By the way,
or Aya win."
I have special bullets that'll help kill the final boss. You might need them.
Yeah. So they're in a helicopter, kind of going away, and Maida kind of makes this comment. "Oh, she's having problems, but I made these special bullets made
What
of
are
herself."
Oh my god.
And they turn around and they can't. They don't want to throw him out of the helicopter. But anybody who gets too close will start burning. So, goddamn Daniel, the wild card, takes the bullets, jumps out of the helicopter, catches on fire like he's a fucking comet coming into the Earth's atmosphere, throws the ammo, and lands in the ocean and just kind of swims away.
Like a badass
unharmed.
motherfucker.
He is. And that's why I wrote, "Damn, Daniel, fucking wild card," in huge fucking letters.
Big old bold letters.
That was a cool cutscene, though.
Dude,
I'm not
that
gonna
was
lie.
good.
Daniel is a boss, and I want him to have his own side game.
So the one thing with him bursting into flames, right?
Yeah.
When people burst into flames in this game, they get like 2 seconds tops before they are fucking just a charred mass of nothingness.
Not Daniel.
However, Daniel bursts into flames for a good 5 to 6 seconds while he's falling, hits the water, and then later in a different cutscene, 100% fine. Doesn't even have a fucking bandage on.
Because he's a fucking wild card.
And Daniel?
Daniel's made of sterner stuff.
Just Daniel in general was probably my laughing grace. Like I think they wanted him to be the badass, but he turned into the comedic role for me, which I loved. Like it was just cool. What was badass back in the 90s is now funny as shit to me now.
Another great quote. This is from Aya. When she's being chased at the end, the last sequence of the game, once you beat the Supreme Being, it kind of follows you through. Now, this has a little bit to do with the gameplay. I'm just going to fucking
follows you through a battleship that you're on fighting everything, and they're going to try to blow up the boat. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah.
Go.
So one thing I have to say about that whole thing is it caught me 3 times.
How?
I got caught once. I made a wrong turn.
Yeah, I made a wrong turn at the very beginning, but after that...
I made both wrong turns that you can possibly make. There are 2.
Yeah.
And also, I tried to run in and save my game because I didn't want to continue doing the boss fight.
Oh, the phone's dead.
Yeah, the phone's dead. It catches you instantly. So I had to redo that boss fight 4 times. I got to watch Daniel jump out of the fucking plane, though, like 7 times. It was awesome.
That almost makes it worth it.
But yeah, it was really funny when Aya goes to blow up the ship to try to just destroy the Supreme Being once and for all after she's weakened it. And she starts sinking the ship and she's like, nah, we're in Hell's Kitchen. And then just like runs out of the ship. I was like, that is the cheesiest fucking thing.
One of the things from the beginning, I know we were talking about characters. Aya, badass chick. Daniel, boss, Maida, we don't have to talk about because he's a little pussy.
Medea.
But one of the things from...
I have some things to say about Maida.
Oh, go
About
ahead.
Medea?
Sorry.
So he is really oddly insightful at times.
Mm-hmm.
And he says like probably one of the more dark... and it's kind of the theme of the game, I guess. But he's the first person to like plainly say it. A direct quote from him is... that you can say that we are the parasites and the world is our host. And I thought that was like kind of interesting.
That's so fucking true, though. The human race.
All right, Ralph.
Deplorables.
So
we're a virus.
Really? That's the thing?
and
Fuck all of you guys.
and the only other thing that I really had to say about Maida is, did anybody else get the feeling that he was trying to get with Aya?
The final
bunch.
line
Yeah.
when they're in the theater.
Yeah.
I couldn't read the whole thing, but it sounded like, "Oh, I'm going back to Japan tomorrow, so you wanna?"
Yeah,
and
and then Ben cuts him off.
Yeah.
Daniel's son. Yeah.
Daniel's son?
But
He was waxing off.
And waxing on at the same time.
but
How was your face?
there's a few times before that where Maida is totally hitting on her.
Oh, yeah.
In like
yeah.
his weird
Japanese
sciencey
guys
way.
love blonde chicks.
Wait. So is that what the good luck charms were?
Ooh, I'll get into that in gameplay.
So actually, I don't know what those were used for at all.
Gameplay.
I don't think they're used.
Gameplay.
Gameplay.
So, one of the things that I thought was hysterical at the beginning of the game is when everybody's burnt to a crisp and you're downstairs running through the like corridors of like
The clown?
The clown. Oh, there is a clown. I forgot about
Yeah.
that. No, but like when you're by all the dressing rooms and all, there's an actress who's on the floor who's like burning and like in so much pain.
Still alive.
Still alive. And Aya goes, hold on. Wait. She is burnt to a fucking crisp. There is no way this girl's going to hang on. At this point, Aya should have just been like, do you want me to just shoot you in the head and give you a clean out?
No.
Like,
only better
just
thing she
wait.
could have said
Just wait.
was
freeze!
Oh, God.
After she expired.
Yeah.
I thought my puns were bad.
There's a
Freeze!
one of the other things that I was kind of just like confused a little bit about was you go into the park, there's a concert, things go down, and as you're leaving, Eve tells you to get on this horse and carriage, and you get on.
Yep.
Why? What in any kind of horror aspect would you go, all right, I'm going to be in close proximity of the bad guy. Yeah, we'll jump on this horse and carriage and just go for
I think
a ride.
that
now
has to
we have
deal
the
with
battle.
her as a character. Like, she's trying to figure out the entire time, why doesn't she burn and stuff. She doesn't have that answer yet.
Yeah, it's curiosity, I think, more
Yeah.
than anything at that point.
Shoot her.
She's a self-aware
Shooter.
video
Wait,
game
you mean
character,
why
and she knew
Aya's
there was a
not
boss.
thinking, why does she not just burn at that time? Or what
No,
do you mean?
I'm thinking like she went onto that carriage ride because she was curious about herself.
She wants to get to the bottom.
I
of
need,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
to, yeah. The
She's a-
detective
she's a-
instincts
She's a
are coming out.
detective on
Well,
top of that, yeah.
I think that kind of plays into the whole story, because when you first get into the game and she has no idea what type of powers she has at that time, and then it starts building up a little bit and then building up more, and then that's where you can actually realize by the end of the game she was one of the, pretty much one of the only people at the very beginning who didn't just burst into flames, because she was something special. And then that's something that you learned about through the game, and she kind of learned by the end of the game where she really stood with, the quote-unquote parasite.
Yeah, just to clue our listeners in too, like she had these powers based on a transplant.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
liver transplant, right?
Yep.
No, she
no,
had
no.
a cornea transplant.
Oh.
Yep.
Because the original was divvied up, basically, because the original, like, the guy was he wanted, what was it, an African doctor who wanted to keep his wife alive, so he kept splicing the liver cells,
Something like, was it liver or kidney?
Yeah. It was,
liver,
I think
kidney,
it was
to
liver.
keep her alive and try to find something out from that. And then people got those parts from the original donor, I guess is the best way to put it. And
I think it was Aya's sister,
Right.
Yes,
Maya.
Car
Maya.
accident?
Maya.
Yeah,
Well, they put a lot of creative work into
Maya
that
and
one, huh?
Aya.
a little bit. Yeah.
What can we do to make this different? Add an M.
Maya, I am papaya.
But then that's where you start to get the little differences, where that the gene that was originally in there started to mutate, and then when Aya started realizing what she had that she didn't know, as in with the mitochondria or everything else.
Metachlorians.
Yeah, the mitochondrians. And then she started using the Force, and then she was all powerful on the Statue of Liberty.
So, yeah, she gets into the carriage because she wants to get to the bottom of what's going on, and Eve's, like, coaxing her on or whatever. But did you
Yeah.
guys think that the horse bursting into flames and, like... that
Hilarious.
cutscene- You thought it was hilarious?
Yeah.
I literally laughed out loud with that.
Well,
The second playthrough, the second one, the first one, as a 13-year-old kid, I was like, what is going on? As a 29-year-old,
Why-
I giggled.
Why did it burst into flames instead of transforming into a mutant horse like all the animals are doing?
That's
well,
true.
why didn't the rest of the people
Cinematic
in the
effect.
opera house turn into something else and just burst into flames? It just
Well, it seemed like all the animals were mutating and all the people were burning. That's what I was getting from it.
Well,
maybe it's a
only,
horse
only
person.
everybody burns in the first one.
Oh, yeah, they
the-
turn into
the
goo
se-
in the second
Yeah,
day.
the second one, she drains all the mitochondria out of them. They don't burst into flames. They're just all these husks that have been drained of the
Not husks,
mitochondria.
yeah.
No,
But
the
yeah.
midichlorians, you're right.
Yeah.
They all were
gooey.
drained, $500 a piece.
The warm liquid goo.
Yeah, the only time that the people don't burst into flames is when they melt at the concert
Zoo.
in the park.
Well, okay, wait.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
that was it.
Okay, since we're talking about story, did you guys see the similarities and parallels from other things in media, other movies that seem to have influenced the game? Like, to me, I see a lot of John Carpenter's The Thing in the animal mutations, especially Shiva. And then when it comes to the people melting and turning into a goo, I sort of see that as Ghostbusters 2, even though that was like the evil slime or whatever, but it going through the sewers and all that stuff, like the imagery there, to me, I see The Thing, I see Ghostbusters 2, I see Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon and Predator 2 as Daniel. Like, I feel like I see a lot of other influences thrown at this. It doesn't wild card. It's not that it's unoriginal, but do you guys get that too, or is it just me?
Yeah, no, I definitely see that as well. So, did anyone have like a favorite cutscene other than Daniel burning up at all?
That was like the highlight. I don't know. I know some of them looked. A lot of them looked really good though.
There was one that freaked me the fuck out. Actually, when everyone gets drained
Yeah.
at the zoo,
Amphitheater
the park.
Oh, you mean when
Central
they
Park?
all turn into like the orange slime?
Yeah, because they're like panning across this guy's face, and it looks like his eye sinks into his head,
Yeah,
and then just a strong stream of goo comes out of it. Freaked me out. Like, I mean, I wasn't scared at any point during the game, but that was actually like kind of freaky.
Yeah.
Where you sit there and look at the screen, and it's like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
And which is where I really give them credit for the time, because we're talking pre-2000, and for the fact that they really incorporate that in a game, and kind of like, all right, well, you know what? Fuck you. Are you scared? Do you feel freaked out? Good, then we're doing our job. And I'll be honest, even playing it as a teenager, and even now, just looking at it, it's like, that's kind of fucked up. All right, this is a good game. That's something I can base it off of.
This is fucked up. What a great game.
Yeah, hey, you know what? Because there's very few games
No,
or
I know.
anything that can really kind of hit that type of emotion off of it, where it's like you feel almost a little uncomfortable watching it. It's like, what?
It shocked you to your foundation.
It is. It almost is. It's a little shocking.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only thing that kind of freaked me out was the ultimate being born, and then you see that purple. I wrote it down. It's like you hear baby noises because it is just born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The baby noises.
Well, that's a square thing.
Right. But it's also, it's like a purple little cherub. And then it has
Aw.
the tail of a demon.
Oh.
And it has like the head of an alien. And
Nice.
it's just purple little thing just climbing onto the ship crying. And I was like, just punt it back into the water. Don't just get this thing off. I don't want to see it.
Well,
Yeah.
at the end, you got to see
That
it,
was-
like kind of go through its stages.
Yeah.
Which was almost a little more freaky, where it's like, oh, here's a baby. Oh, it turns into this. It turns
Stage
into this.
3 is Mewtwo with a huge nutsack.
Basically,
Legit.
Keep in mind, a boss battle in this game was just you shooting a baby.
It is.
Putting
that
a little
out
bit
there.
for
Yeah.
A giant demon baby.
Yeah, but still.
Demon Baby.
I mean,
No.
think about it, because we had this talk about Silent Hill, how they were forced to make changes on their children
The
because it was too
localization,
violent
yeah.
to shoot children. We're going to even downgrade it more. This helpless, innocent baby. Let's just fire a machine gun right into it.
But it did look like a
That-
demon baby.
that-
that
yeah,
I'm okay
and also,
shooting
and
in
also
the
it was
face.
only one.
Yeah.
It wasn't a reoccurring theme.
And did you see that head? It was like a huge forehead, like
Hey,
blast.
babies
it.
have
It's
big
freaky.
heads.
Rated
Yeah.
M for mature.
That's why that baby got
Although,
shot in the face.
Another thing that kind of threw me off is when you're in the museum, which is the stage before you get to the
Day 5.
day 5. Yeah. Well, that's during day 5.
No,
that
the
is-
museum
Yeah,
is day
I'm
5.
Pretty sure that's day 5.
Yeah. Museum's
Yeah.
Day 5.
You should
Um,
know.
I know.
Did it for 10 hours.
I know.
when you face down with Eve and she's like pregnant, I thought that was a really weird thing to see in a game.
Oh, she was super pregnant. too.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Extra pregnant.
Yeah, like
I'm going to have a litter of demons.
well, like her stomach was like probably 15 times the size of what it would have been if she was just a regular human being.
No, I seen my wife.
A human
pregnant.
being.
He was just insulting his former pregnant wife.
Yeah.
Still current wife, but formerly pregnant.
Take
At the
that
end
back.
of this podcast.
Yeah, we'll have
no
more
longer-
updates.
You take that back.
Hey, Hamill, what happened to that ring on your left hand? I don't know what.
Just disappeared.
He pawned it for $500.
Oh,
I can't get it off my fat finger, so it's still there. Trust me.
We get to cut off Hamill's finger. Awesome.
I thought it was interesting for a game where you're going around shooting everything. The guy
Like
in the
pregnant
police
demon
station,
babies and baby babies.
Well,
Well,
yeah, there's that.
Torres, was downstairs and he hated guns. He hated them.
Well, he had some kind of experience.
Right. But it like at first you don't know. It's like this
Yeah.
cop who's in the basement dealing with guns, and he's like, you shouldn't really be using guns.
He respects the power
He respects
of
the
a
power,
firearm.
but then you find out why
Mm-hmm.
he is totally against guns, which made me feel better about using the club for the first half of the game.
God.
But I just thought that was an interesting, like, do we know if any of the creators like had an incident and they just went to throw that in?
And brought
or
that into the game. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if maybe that was based off somebody's personal life or something, because that seemed really personal. It seemed in there for a reason other than just a side story.
Well, Sakaguchi was, invested in death because he lost his mother during Final Fantasy VII, right? So I don't know if Sakaguchi was like, hey, we need to sprinkle some death in there. I mean, that sounds really terrible for me to say, but that's the first thing that came to my mind is that he might have brought that.
Now, again, like I see this in a lot of Japanese games that they have a certain portrayed view of like American culture, and I definitely think the gun thing was definitely a point that they were trying to make across several times. Because even Maeda, when he was coming over, he was like, "Oh, you just can go to a store and just buy guns like that."
Yeah, Japan has
like,
firearms
oh, welcome
at
to
the end of-
America.
Yeah.
More or less. Like
As I shoot the gun store door
Japan,
open.
unless you're in the army, you don't carry a firearm.
No, I understand. I'm just saying. I think they
We're
were
all
really
cowboys.
trying to like
Yeehaw.
make American culture feel bad about that in a way, just like the way that they inserted it into the game. Just my opinion.
Jingoism?
Insert.
Isn't that what that's called? Jingoism?
The other thing I want to bring up, and I think Clark's gonna hate me for this. There are little things like
Throw down.
when you go to fight Shiva, the dog, and Ben and the chief are kind of in the corner cowering.
Yeah.
And then you go and you beat it.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I wanted the story to be done, like in this instead of Metal Gear Solid, where at the end somebody goes, he was really upset because that was his canine partner when he was like, it's a really short bit. Two sentences.
No, Gray Fox gets to have his
8-hour.
15-minute
Yeah, no,
his
no, thank you.
15-minute rant
No,
about
don't you
Naomi's
start with your
family
8-hour bullshit.
while Metal
It's
Gear
like
Rex
10
is like
minutes.
actively searching for them and trying to kill them. They're allowed to have that.
Two sentences is all we need. And then I felt bad. I was like, damn, that does suck. That made me feel more for the characters than the 20-minute speech that Sly Fox
There's
goes on
not
about.
a single 20-minute speech
Sly
in that
Fox,
entire game.
you did not know about Zanzibar. You shut up, you son of a bitch.
Don't cut Kojima.
That was
Hamill.
just a thought I wanted to bring to
You
the
don't
table.
edit Kojima, damn
You
it.
can't edit Kojima.
It's going to be a 3
You can fire him.
You take it all or nothing.
All right, so
here's
so
no-
I have like 2 more points,
Ugh.
and then we can just move on to something else. Did anyone unleash the parrot for the first save spot?
Yeah, I think
where
so,
you
yeah.
go up and talk to the parrot and it fights you?
No, wasn't this the
No.
one that was screaming like hot, hot, hot? Or
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
it says hot, hot, help, and then you just see like the dead, decaying body, and you're like, ooh. So there was that. I
That
thought
does
that
sound
was
kind of
funny.
funny though. Like that's what that person's last words.
Yeah,
Hot, hot, help!
yeah.
Like, if you think about it that way.
Also, I did kind of like how they did throw in the scenes in the car when they're driving for the loading screens type of thing.
Okay.
I dug that.
Oh, I did have a point about that. It made it look like they're going like 10,000 miles
Yeah,
an hour.
Yes. Yeah, they were in
no
hyperdrive.
side streets. There's no lights. They're just cruising down this long highway of a road in
I
New
love
York
the part.
City.
I love the part where Daniel's like, better kick it in the turbo. And he shifts or whatever. I'm like, what
And then
is
it
that?
double speeds the
Yeah,
hyperspeed.
well, I don't know. I mean, they went to plaid, ludicrous speed. I don't know. That was so funny. Like, does someone not think about like looking at that? Whatever.
It's PlayStation error. I chalk it up to that.
But no, I did love that.
It was
really
awesome.
funny. New York's not that big.
I know.
That's where they going.
The other thing is when you fight the spider boss, what building do you fight it on? Is it the museum? No, it's not the museum. It's day
spider?
4.
It's before that, yeah.
Yeah, on day 4, you're in a building. I forget which building. I think
Was
you're
it the hospital?
It might have
Yes,
been
the hospital
And
was day
when you're
4.
on the top, you fight the spider boss, and then they're like, "Hey, you got to find your way out. There's a jet coming, and it's gonna hit the building."
Oh yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
I start using the door. I'm looking around, taking my time, and then it showed a cutscene where that jet just fucking hit the
Oh,
building.
yeah.
I died, and I'm like,
Aya goes flying off.
they're
of it.
not fucking kidding about this. And it's funny because once you get off the building, it's the same video without her falling off the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
I love that. I thought that was a cool little detail. And then also in the museum, when the dinosaurs start attacking you, I actually wrote down, how the fuck are there dinosaurs in this game? That makes no sense. But they did explain how that glob of people were just taking over the bones and
Yeah.
the forms of the animals and then just turning into these enemies. And
Yep.
I'm like, That's pretty fucking cool.
Actually-
I like that.
I think the director of the game just watched Jurassic Park and wanted dinosaurs.
He did, and he's like,
in their game.
let's throw in dinosaurs and we'll explain it. We'll get this.
He found
writer's
his
block.
workaround, so he's good.
I got it. Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs. She has to go to the museum. That's it. Because I was embodying the director.
Yeah, no, we got it. Yeah,
You got it?
No, we got that.
Do you got it? Did you guys think it was interesting to actually have this game set like in New York City? Because at first it sort of surprised me that this game from Square, which I knew had RPG elements, is actually based in a real world location. It's actually New York, and they have the different areas that you can go to. They have they're supposed to sort of look like the real world counterparts. And I did notice that the Chrysler building was taller than the World Trade Center, which I thought was really funny. The first time we saw the map of New York, the 3D map of Manhattan.
Gameplay.
The one point of the gameplay that I'd like to get into is the battle system.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I
I mean, the main point of the game, the battle
Yes,
system. Yeah.
fine. I'm just trying to push this along.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure it's like officially active time battles, but it definitely is very reminiscent of other Square titles, Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, the active time battle system. It seems it's very similar to that. Obviously, it's not turn-based because you have the ability to freely move around in the environment, but you have to wait for your meter to fill up before you can attack. And there's the checks and balances of the whole.
I mean,
system.
if you really break it down, though, it is active time battle
Yeah.
with you could say it has like the wait time more or less.
Mhm.
It's just you have the ability to dodge attacks.
You can
Yes.
dodge, right? Yeah, which you can't do obviously in a turn-based
which is
game.
pretty key for
Yeah.
the game.
And
You
that was-
definitely need to learn how to do that to actually make it less frustrating.
It's
No,
almost like a natural evolution.
Oh god.
Is that? Did I say that?
Now, can I say, as far as like the movement goes, that was the most frustrating part of this game.
You mean
Especially in the earlier parts of the game, I felt like it took fucking forever to get anywhere.
is
Oh, it
that
did.
like
yeah.
an intentional way to pad the game? Do you think? Because I mean, we've discussed how it's fairly short. It's like what 8-9 hours kind of a thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, like you have this the pre-rendered background, and you have to walk on the set path, and she's just like slowly walking in place, like she's like sliding, like she's so slow to move anywhere through the game. I mean, eventually you get used to it, but yeah, it was jarring for me how slow she walked. You couldn't run, you couldn't,
I was running the whole time.
Yeah, but still slow.
Were you
Yeah.
really running?
Yeah.
She was doing like 4 steps for every like 2 feet she would
Yeah,
move.
exactly.
You know what I mean? No, I did see, like, maybe it was just I got used to it, but it seemed like she went faster later in the game. I didn't know if maybe your movement speed was increased with levels as well.
I think
don't
it's
know.
actually the maps. They
Smaller.
kind of brought it together and just added levels. So that way it was kind of tighter and you could get to rooms quicker. Because, like, when you're in the zoo, they have it where there's, like, when you're going into that main park, there's, like, 3 different exits, which they don't mark. And then because it's such a big park, you have to run, and it takes, like, a minute or 2 to get to one of the exits. Whereas the museum, the door's right over there, so it takes 2 seconds to get to the... But I feel like the maps, they just made them differently. They may have realized, okay, the park was a little
The
too
park
big.
is a crawl.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because of how large the environment is and the movement speed. I was really hoping it's like, oh, if I just hold square, I'll run. No, this is my movement and it's fixed. And it did bug me.
Yeah, the park was probably my least favorite part of the game, like playing wise. I did really like the battle system though. The battle system was really cool. It's the first time that I've experienced something that's quite like that in a game. I can't really think of anything else that's really like that. I hear a lot of people say that Final Fantasy 12 is a kind of like that, where you're kind of running around dodging. I've never played 12.
I could see that. I could see.
They have a, not to get into 12 real quick, but they have like you set up an auto battle thing.
Yeah.
How you want to do your commands, and then it's like, cool, you put attack, but if your health drops below a certain point, you automatically cure. And there's like, you set.
Okay.
It
But basically,
basically,
you're fixed in an area, though, right? Once the battle starts, you're like fixed.
no,
to it.
you
No,
can run
just
away from battles.
Yeah,
Like,
you can get
it's
out.
free, like roaming environment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, something with the battle system that I really liked is the fact that where you could bring up the grid and you can see how far away or how close you are to an enemy, and that can kind of give you a perspective of if I'm closer with a club or even, let's say, the gun or any type of, firing weapon, the closer you are, the better chance you have of getting better damage or even just
critical?
having better chance of a
criticals.
critical hit.
Yeah.
And then the farther you are away, obviously, it kind of lessens the likelihood of actually getting an actual hit or critical at the very least.
Right.
Reduce damage because they're outside of the range.
Yeah,
And it resulted in a lot of misses for me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, me too.
and there weren't a whole lot of games at the time that really kind of showed you the actual distance and the boundaries you were working with, and then you could see whether it was you were using a melee weapon or firing or using the using your basically telekinesis or whatever it is to be
Or
within-
metachlorian power.
Yeah, metachlorian power.
Now, going along
Not
with
the
your
mitochondria. Fuck that.
They
But
did.
metachlorians.
They did equate it kind of to telekinesis. I believe. I think Meta kind of makes that comparison at one point.
Yeah,
ESPN. Got it.
but it really. Oh my God, Hamill, peppermint swirl in your fucking head.
It's like you have ESPN or something, Hamill.
building off of your grid
Your
system,
body knows when it's raining.
I found myself leaning towards wide range weapons primarily, especially like your rifles.
Wide range? You mean
Like the
longer?
you were
longer
going
range?
further away, keeping distance?
The handguns drove me nuts. It's just like such a small little window. You really have to get up close and personal and really get in the enemy's threat range with a lot of those weapons. I like to keep a safe distance and fire shots.
See, personally, I found it a little different where you had to play upon your strengths within the battle. Obviously, if it's something where there's certain ones where Eve just has that slash attack where she just hit you with one, you're basically down to 1 HP and you're fucked. So you have to play back and forth a little bit and kind of judge, okay, well, it may take 1 or 2 times playing the boss and fighting against them to find where your strengths are, whether you're close up, hitting them close range to make sure you can do the most damage and possibly critical, or move back if they're throwing out, basically laser beams out of their fingers, tail, ass, whatever the fuck you want to.
Mouths.
It's pretty much all
Eyeballs.
the same, where they're just having the same type of attacks, but
Giant
it's just
enemy
a little
crab.
bit of difference. But that's where I found
Massive
at least
damage.
it gives you an idea of where, hey, I can be. This is close range. This is far distance, and I know where my sweet spots are for the type of attacks that are coming at me.
Okay, so then did you play the game so that based on your environment you would switch weapons? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes you're like on a bridge and you can't dodge anything.
Oh no!
So you can whip out the shotgun and use that on the enemy. But if it's more open or broader, you would use a rifle, that kind of thing.
If the environment allowed,
Yeah.
I would get in close to try to attack, and then at least with the battle system the way it works, it would give me the option to actually move away and try to dodge back and forth, and then I can try to come back in once my AP, bumps back up again, or MP.
Right,
Well, basically MP because it's your
PE?
magic power for the PE.
Yeah.
I still just call it
PE,
MP.
No, I know.
It is what it is. But where it kind of gives you the option to go with one or the other and to kind of adjust the way that you're going to come in and attack an enemy, and you can, kind of make your own game plan for each and every one. You might die once or twice and have to reload it, but at least it starts giving you, an actual like foundation of how you're going to attack this enemy, because they're all different.
I don't know what you guys like, when it came to the weapons. I'm gonna just throw this out here. I didn't use the tools at all.
That you probably put yourself at a huge disadvantage.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
would agree.
I didn't really struggle with the combat. Now, what I did was I found weapons, because there's so many guns in the game, so many crates, so many guns, that if I found one that was better, I would just equip it until I found something that I liked. I think it's in is it day 3 in the actual police station or the headquarters. You get the MP5K, and I used that weapon for the next 2 days, and all I did was upgrade that weapon. I would use I would use my own
The BP, the battle
I
points.
would use the battle points on it, and I would use offense +1, offense +2, offense +3 that I would find in crates, and I just stuck to that.
No.
So it's true when I got to the day 5 and there were multiple enemies, and this was a 3-round burst, the MP5. I was doing something around like 25 damage per shot, so I was casting haste, just running around them and lighting them up as much as I could. And I know that there's the tool system, I know there's the upgrading system, and I knew that if I really took the time, I could really, probably build something really good. But I also found that there was no reason that I had to do it. Like I said, the combat didn't push me to the point where it was a necessity. It was just, okay, I could probably take the time to crunch the numbers and to get a better play optimally, basically have a better attack score, but I didn't need it.
Well, at the same time, did you do a lot of scrounging around,
Yeah.
looking for items and everything else?
Sure.
Because even between like day 3 and day 5, there's pretty much a plethora of different weapons. And
Yeah, and I
things you
tested
could
some of them
find.
out, but I still I got into a good groove with the MP5, and
You got comfortable.
I got comfortable with it, and my progress was not halted for it.
Who got the rocket launcher?
I got the rocket launcher, actually.
Same.
in the warehouse, correct?
Yeah.
No, I bypassed that whole part.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So real quick, just on the weapons thing, I actually did the opposite of you, Ralph.
Yeah.
I stuck to one gun almost the entire game.
The 1911?
No.
No.
The grenade launcher. It's like M793.
Okay.
And I went with the second variation of that you get, and I god tiered it towards the end of the game. Like 96 damage, you take 2 turns.
Right.
That was a great ability to add. Yeah, I was kind of curious, like what did everybody end up with their final gun loadout for the game?
So it was I was doing 89 damage per shot with my grenade launcher. You could take 2 sets of 2 shots in a turn.
Not 2 shots. You meant 2 turns.
get 2
I'm
turns.
sorry.
Yeah, it would be
Okay.
2 turns. So I could literally cast haste and then blast 2 shots, run around, blast 4 shots, run around. That was like super super useful. Towards the end of the game, I just started like blowing through it. But the end boss, you had to find a medium to beat the boss. Like you had to use PE. Like I feel like it wasn't just like a try to win with the guns thing. Like I had to use Liberate. It's the only time I used it was the last one.
You're
Because
welcome.
I kept dying, and I like was worried that I was not going to beat the game because I had gotten too far at that point. Hamill clued me into, hey, you should use Liberate, because I hadn't even checked it out yet. Had no problem.
It's really powerful.
It is super powerful.
Well, Harry, what was your final loadout? Basically?
I don't remember the exact gun name, but it was a single shot rifle that had like an insane range. Like almost every arena I could hit the entire thing. I went with a single shot because every additional bullet halves the damage.
Was
So if
that
you had like
PSG-1? Because I know they had that in there.
Oh, yeah, the PSG one.
I don't remember.
You were Sniper Wolf the whole time.
But
Steve
but like,
remembers.
let's say
Got you,
your
Ralph.
base damage on a gun is 100 damage. If you take 2 shots, each bullet does 50 damage. So what I wanted to do was
So that's why,
minimalize the time that I was standing in one place so that I can just fire a shot and start moving again. Because if you took like 5 shots, she's standing there shooting consecutive shots.
She's vulnerable for damage.
She is vulnerable.
Yeah.
So I did the single shot. I was doing probably like 130 to 150 per shot. But I had the 2-turn action. I put that on immediately when I got it. I gave it frost, elemental damage.
I couldn't tell if those actually did anything.
It works on certain enemies. Some are weak to fire, some are weak to ice. I was actually curious because I opened up 5 slots in this gun using the mod permits.
Mm-hmm.
If I could stack the fire and the ice, I didn't have the balls to do it because I didn't.
You can, because I had one weapon at one point that would do ice, then fire, and then the explosive from the grenade.
Got it.
Which, if you really plan it out right, like the mods really had a big
Yeah, no, it was
impact towards the end of the game.
It was an elusive thing to me the first time when I played the game originally. The tools and the permits caused me way too many problems when I first played this game.
Yeah.
But the last ability I put on the gun, which I think was iconic, was you basically take the first turn every single combat. So your gauge is
Preemptive strike.
yeah, basically. So every battle you could act immediately. Like your ATB gauge was immediately full.
Right. Okay.
Which I found that really solid. And
Well, that's huge.
I will say what I did, just not to waste the battle points and everything you get, I put most of my battle points leveling up into the ATB gauge. So the bar was just flying up. And I actually had it timed to the point where for every shot I took, the amount of time it would take her to stand still and take the shot, it would be immediately full again for the next.
Well, it definitely sounds to me like you were playing optimally.
I was
you
playing.
found the way
I
to
remember
actually
that
play the
is-
game.
I remembered a lot about playing this game, and then after I got the ATB gauge at that point, I just sunk it all into damage.
So you don't want to get
in
to
the gun.
day 5 with like an MP5 that has like a +7 damage, and it's
I
3
had
shots
probably
per-
like plus 35 on
Yeah.
my damage on my gun.
Yeah, mine was like plus 25, plus 9, plus 7.
I just want to say it is sort of sorry, Hamill, I'll let you go. It is sort of weird for me to play it like that. Like normally I probably would have taken the time to sit down and look at this and actually be like, okay, if I do this and experiment and play around with it, but I really didn't feel that the difficulty wasn't there for me to need to do it.
I'm actually
So-
really curious if you do decide to go and then finish the game.
If I can.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder, like, did you throw away any of your weapons or anything like
I
that?
didn't throw anything away. I just started binning it at the police station.
You
Because
might
I could
get
stack them, right? I
Yeah.
could stack them by combining them with tools or whatnot.
Well, it's weird. So like all of those like offense plus and things like that,
Mhm.
they stack into the right column, and when you use a tool, you can take that right column and put it onto a new weapon.
So that's maybe I didn't understand.
No, I will say the tutorial sucked for explaining the tools and the mod permits.
You really had
Yeah.
to learn
Oh,
it.
so it's really not just me?
No, it's
No,
like I
it-
said, when I played it the first time, I was very
Yeah.
confused. Like it took a lot of trial and error. I knew going into this playthrough what I had to do.
How many
Took the
times you
words
played
out of
it?
my mouth.
Probably like the third time I played through the
Okay,
game.
Hamill, go.
Yeah, Hamill's just sitting here smiling and like slowly sinking underneath
Shit.
the desk.
Yeah,
Decent grin.
tell us about your final gun there, Hamill.
Go ahead.
I fucked up with the tools. The first 3 or 4 tools, I kind of got it mixed up where I would take the gun that I wanted to put everything on, and I would
so easy
put
to
it
do.
on the other gun. He was
Oh, it's so
dismantling
easy
the
to
wrong
do.
gun.
Oh man.
So, but the
I
good-
another thing. I always saved right before I would do this, just in
Oh, of
case I
course.
made that mistake.
Yep.
I did not. So one of the main things I used up until the warehouse, and then I would use it kind of sporadically depending on what enemy I would face, was the club. I used the club constantly, so I would stockpile ammo because I thought ammo was going to be a bigger deal towards the end, which it wasn't because I ended up with like 1,000 ammo.
You're one of those where I'm just going to save it, and then you beat the game and it's like, oh shit, I should have used that.
Well, that's what I did.
Exactly.
With,
Yeah.
That's
It's
what I
always a
did with
terrible
Silent Hill.
feeling though when you hoard something and it's just wasted.
Yeah, which
I've never
I feel
hoard
like
stumping.
a lot of us do that in a lot of different games where it's like, oh, I'm going to hold on to this because something's going to come along. Oh, I can get through this, so I'm still going to hold on to
Well,
this.
it's better to
And then
do
by the
that
end-
than be, without it when you need
Yeah,
it. But,
better to be prepared than not. But
So I actually think that kind of ties in. So I liked the fact that this felt like a horror game, but played like an RPG. And I think that's why I hoarded so much, is because this felt like a Resident Evil game to me, where I was like, oh shit, I don't know if I'm going to have more ammo. So I used the club for like the first level, and then I was like, all right, I'm getting a decent amount of ammo. Just the second I get under 50 bullets, I'm going to stop.
yeah,
And then I ended the game with 600, and
Yeah, like,
I
there was
didn't
never a
have to go
shortage.
back to it.
you're
ever.
not wrong, because through like the first day or so, it's at least when like you're in the opera house and dealing with those, the club, it's a good way to go, and then you can
Absolutely.
hoard ammo and you can go around and you can scrounge, and if you're a loot whore like myself, try to get everything you can right off the bat, which is good. But that's going to lead me into my next question.
Well, Hammer, were you
How
done?
much?
Yeah, I didn't tell you my final gun yet. I
don't care. I don't care. No, I'm done.
I want to
Oh,
know,
shit.
Steve. I'm overruling you. I want to know.
I used to Billy Club the whole time. Let's go that way.
Really?
whole
I beat
time?
You
I
did?
beat the final boss with the Billy Club.
Jesus.
No,
You know it does.
I don't believe
No.
It
that.
does half
Shouldn't have
damage
said
on the
no.
Billy Club.
It did even half more damage because I was stealing items from everything. Because when you put that ability on, it halves the attack power. So I was literally just taking every item from every single thing and just spending tons of time just beating the shit out of things.
Okay. Well, this is where like my one big question for everybody.
Tell us
How-
your final gun, though.
Son
It was
of
a handgun.
Bitch.
It was a handgun that shot 2 bullets at a time.
That's it? You didn't put
Really?
any abilities or anything on it?
I think it just had the 2, and I think that was
You
it.
probably leveled up Maida's gun.
Is that what?
No, I did not. That is not the one I used.
So Maida's gun's not
But-
good then? I thought it was a good gun.
Only against the final boss.
Well, okay.
Yep. Maida's gun serves one purpose, and that is the final form of the boss.
The attack on it is 1.
I saw that, but I yeah.
I bet you there's people out there that made that their gun that they would carry over to the next game. And then just,
Probably.
I
like,
could see that.
God
for
status
the
that gun.
the X game.
New Game Plus?
Basically,
Yeah.
once you save and then start the new one, and then that's where actually like
Chrysler
naming
Building.
your stuff actually follows over and rolls over. Okay. One thing I do want to get out of the way. I'm wondering how much melee / gun did you use compared to your PE? Like, what did you rely on? Did you rely on the guns, or did you kind of rely on, your special abilities?
I mostly used PE to heal and to use buffs. I didn't really use it in any sort of offense, and that's why I struggled with the end boss because I didn't realize how good Liberate was. The thing that I would do constantly was the pre-raise.
That's a good one.
Yeah, which is awesome. It's
It's a
so
lifesaver
cool.
at the end of the
Which
game.
I
Yeah.
Literally a lifesaver.
I will say though, I fucking hated that some of the bosses could hit you and it goes away.
I didn't notice that. Maybe
yes.
it's a special attack or
No,
something.
it's
I didn't
any time you get grappled by any of the bosses in the game, that goes away. It would piss me off because those would be the ones where they'd grapple you, hit you, you'd go down to 1 life, and then you also lose your fucking pre-raise.
It's frightening.
Yes, it sucked so bad. Happened to me multiple times.
I only use the magic, the Eve power, whatever, for healing as well. Every time I would get a new ability, I would use it once just to see what it did, and then after that, it was all heals. But the one thing that I kept on was a body armor that every time I would get to low health, I would start automatically using potions for free. And I had an ability, I don't know if it was with the same armor or something else, but I was getting revives for free. So during the last boss, I just attacked because my inventory was full of all potions, everything. And I didn't have to use one heal or anything at all.
I found one of the best things was haste. Just to start building up your attack power, your AP, and bringing that back around. The one thing I did not like is the more you used your PE and the more it drained and trying to build it back up, it became slower. The more you used it, it didn't build up as quick.
Switch your armor.
Oh, so that's why.
Well,
that
yeah,
happened.
there is the armor hack where you can switch off to another armor, build it back up, and like switch to another one, and it basically regenerates it.
And goes back to normal.
No, I didn't know that.
But in the middle of like
I didn't know
battle,
that either.
I'm not really thinking about that too much. But I did use that to my advantage at some points. Definitely when it became, come to the bigger boss battles, it's like, all right, well, this is coming up. I want to switch it off, switch back on, and it basically regenerates your PE. So that way it builds up a little quicker instead of having to wait for it slowly regenerating back on. Which is something that I liked with the gameplay, where at least when you attacked or did something else, it built it back up instead of just waiting for it to slowly tick by. At least if I'm up and smashing something with a club or shooting something else, it actually raised my PE so that way I could have a little more like magic ability.
I pretty much used a healthy balance between the two. Like, I had no issue up until the very end boss because I was just spamming cure because it was just fucking me over. But no, I liked using the powers, and I thought it added a little flavor to the battle to keep it from becoming a redundant move over here, shoot a shot. Move over here, shoot a shot. I like throwing the things in just to spice up the battle a little bit. Just try out new abilities. Throw on barrier, even though it was a waste sometimes. Because I hated that was one thing that drove me nuts. Barrier would be cool if it just like drained half your PE, but would start filling up again. It used your PE, and you couldn't gain until it was like depleted from getting hit. That stuff like that, I thought they could have tinkered around with a little bit. Like it just almost seemed like severe penalty instead of like
kind of. But at the time, for like the battle system they had, going for them, I think they were really trying to push something a little different, and they did well with it. But of course, there was always room for improvement, which we've seen within the next 5 years even.
I used the guns almost exclusively, and then I did use heal for the PE. Occasionally I would use barrier. I used haste a lot towards the end because I was just if there's more than 2 enemies on the, actually if there's more than 1, I would probably cast haste just so I had the chance to do multiple shots as fast as I can, because obviously the longer the battle goes, the more damage you can take, and then the more you have to heal. But I did use I don't know if it's PE shot or whatever it is. Like
energy shot.
Energy shot.
That was a strong attack.
It was. I did use that several times, but I found that it just completely wiped out her PE. So I was like, there's no real point in using it. I did think it was a good gameplay mechanic that your PE didn't regenerate outside of a battle. So you did have to sort of think about that. You didn't want to finish a battle with low HP. You would take the time to heal yourself within the battle and then defeat the enemy and do all that. Otherwise, you're burning through your potions, which you want to hang on to for those clutch moments when you're out of PE in a battle and you need to keep yourself alive.
So I have a question for everyone. Enemies, which one just pissed you the fuck off? Because the spiders,
Yes, Jesus
pissed
Christ,
me
the
the
fucking spiders.
fuck off.
With the web.
Yeah,
the web,
the
and,
slow web
and usually they were paired up with something that would cause poison.
Yep.
So you would be in the web, get stuck, and then you're poisoned, and then you're sitting there going, well, nothing I can do. You would sit there for a little bit until the web dissolved, and then you could go back at it. But the spiders just pissed me the fuck off.
The spiders in the police station really pissed me off. And in the police station, that's where my playthrough, actually, I messed up. I went to the boss way too early, didn't realize what I was doing, and hadn't saved in a while, and I lost about an hour of time that way, so I had to go back. And there's that one like intersection where you will get 3 spiders every time you go through it, and it really started to tick me off. Other than that, I'd say the bats that make you give you darkness, make you go blind or whatever. The bats in the sewer, they were annoying, especially because sometimes you were on a bridge and you could not avoid their sonar shot or whatever you want to call it. And then I guess the little like armadillo guys that would curl up and
roll at you
and roll around. Yeah, but I think you hit the nail on the head with the spiders. They're probably the most annoying.
They were so fucking annoying.
Oh, so one thing I did want to say that I really appreciate about this game is I liked how different it handled the battles from like Final Fantasy. Like, so you get the random encounter, it teleports you into this generated thing, whereas for this, it kind of took the trope from the like survival horror, where when you spawn into a battle, it's the screen that you're on. It's seamless. It doesn't like star fade you to a different spot.
It throws it right in where you're at.
Yeah. I always thought that was really cool. Every time, I was like, oh crap, I'm on this bridge, and now I'm fighting something, and I am stuck on this bridge. It's not like, all of a sudden it zooms in, it's this giant 4-person bridge. Things like that. Like I appreciated little subtle nuances to the gameplay like that.
The one enemy, I think it's when you fought Eve. I forget when it was.
Which time?
The
Monkey Men?
Exactly.
Not the Monkey Men?
With the tentacles, where there were different colored tentacles, and each tentacle affected a different aspect of your character. One slowed you down a little bit. One took down your PE. One took down your AP. I think there were 4 different colors. I forget it because it's all kind of blending in together by this point. But
Were these the ones that almost they were just like shells with the vines coming out of them?
basically,
Yeah.
I think so.
And they would stick
Oh,
you right
yeah.
in the middle of them, and their reach is so fucking long, and they're so slow that you can't really outrun it.
Exactly, but each one had a different effect.
Right.
Where you could get hit with the one and your PE is down, you get hit with the other, and I forget which one it was, but it brought you down to like 1 HP if you really got fucked over.
But yeah, the tentacles. I did not notice they were different colors or anything.
Yeah, I know because there was like 4 different ones and they affected a different attribute of the character. And then it's pretty much whatever hits you, you're fucked one way or another.
Right.
Actually, you know what enemy really pissed me off? Is the centipede in the subway. And
The
it would
boss?
Yeah. And it would split into 4 pieces. And it was just like constantly shuffling around. I was getting fucking hit from every single direction. It's
Yeah,
just
that
like-
was a little annoying.
And when they
Yeah,
split
that
up
was-
in the corners, and then they zoom in real quick and hit you all at one
Yeah,
time.
and there wasn't even like you couldn't really get good at that fight to avoid it. It was just like so random and just like you were just fucking taking hits. Like
I tried to prioritize one at a time. Like I would try to remember where that one piece had moved. That way I could focus my shots. I guess we probably all did the same exact thing with that.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it said like a number for the enemy too, like
Yeah.
that little red number
Ah.
when you clicked on it.
wait, you just reminded me. So the actual reticle for targeting, the red circle that spins clockwise. Early on, I thought, oh, there must be a certain spot that you have a better chance of getting a critical if you either make it land on the same spot or do whatever. And I could never figure it out if there was any kind of hidden element to that aspect of the game. It just seems like, okay, you targeted this one, fire, and that's it. Or is it, you have... I sort of made a game within the game myself where I would try to... The body of the enemy, I would try to line the let's say the hand of the clock. The hand that's moving on the clock, like, parallel with the enemy. So if it was a worm, I would try to make the red hand of the clock be on as much of the body as possible rather than just hit whatever. I think I went way too deep into
Jesus
it.
Christ, no wonder you didn't beat the game.
Yeah, I didn't even.
Yeah, I don't even know what reticle you're talking about.
Okay, what I mean is when you target an enemy, you get the red circle, and then you get like a hand on a clock that spins around.
There are 2 different colors for that, actually.
2 different colors for what?
The reticle. If they're out of your immediate
It's darker,
area,
yeah.
it's darker. And
If
lighter.
they're within the battle sphere or whatever, the battle grid, it's a bright red. The circle, the bright red circle that goes on the enemy.
Okay.
And then there was like a hand of an analog clock that would spin around,
Oh.
like a sharp triangle. Basically.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't think there was anything there.
I don't think there
though.
was either. And I'm just saying, like
No.
early on, I really thought, oh, I have to like try to keep it. I was trying to figure out if you would get a better chance of a critical if, let's say, you had a two shot pistol or a 2-shot weapon. If you had it come around and get at the same spot, would that give you a critical kind of a thing? But I never found any consistency with it, so I dropped it.
So going back on something Harry mentioned, or somebody mentioned, Harry said he would follow up on. What was up with those charms?
Oh,
Yeah, I want to know about that.
so I did a little research into this
Mm-hmm.
because I remember first time I played through, I just kept dumping them in the locker. Like, fuck this, it's just taking up inventory space.
Right.
So a lot of people still say they're garbage. They're just a waste of thing. It's just like a storyline piece. But somebody did some testing. He went back. He did 1,000 random battles with, 1,000 random battles without. He found that the one charm, I don't have the names of the charms, but the one
That's
charm
fine.
would increase ammo drops.
Really?
Yes. The other charm would increase random encounters. I think it's in that order. I think the first one gives you more ammo drops. Second one gives you random encounters. The third one I forget, but I think it only works if you have the first 2 also in your inventory.
It's kind of surprising that that hasn't been straightened out. That this game's been out for, what, 19, 18 years or
Yeah,
whatever.
no, I
All
read a
I have
whole
to say
forum
is
on
We
it.
don't
someone
know.
has a lot of time on their hands.
It's kind of like
There's some
somebody...
dedicated
that-
fans on this
that's-
game. I saw somebody that maxed out every single stat by just multiple
Really?
playthroughs, where he was doing every shot like 999, and he would do the double command thing on like a 10-shot weapon, and it was just like, and then his ATB gauge would go. And he'd just do it again. It was disgusting.
That is too much.
A lot of time in your hands. Which, hey, by the way, if you're listening, good job. But at the same time, you really almost have nothing else to do. Period.
Well, I heard in the Chrysler building, I heard you get a different ending if you beat it.
Yeah, I actually
Yeah.
watched the ending on YouTube. I actually wanted to play
Oh,
through.
really?
I did. I wanted to play through the whole thing, but time restraints, I wasn't going to be able to do that, because you have to basically... Because I thought, cool, I'm just going to load up second playthrough, hop right in the Chrysler building, and knock it out. You have to level all the way back up towards
Yeah.
the end of the game again. I wasn't going to play through twice to
Man, I wish I thought
I
of
don't
watching
blame you.
YouTube for the end of the video. I wish
I wish I
thought
could
of
watch
that.
YouTube and play through the whole entire thing.
I think that pretty much covers the gameplay. Does anyone else have anything else to say?
Oh, no,
about
I think we should touch on that at the top of the Chrysler
the
building.
story?
It's like...
The Chrysler building. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, just real quick.
And
So-
then I had two other things.
It's not
Short
taller
things.
than the World Trade Center was, just so everyone remembers.
There
I
was
already
something
said
about
that.
the World Trade
Never
Center and
forget.
a picture of her and like explosions going on in the background too. There's like
What?
a weird dark thing on the internet
Well, the
about
game's
it.
full of
Never
explosions.
forget.
But anyway, so you get to the top of the 77th floor of the Chrysler building. Every 10 floors there's a boss. Once you complete that boss, no matter how many times you play the game over and over again, it's permanently deleted. So you can do the Chrysler
Oh,
building
wow.
over a couple different playthroughs,
Yeah.
more or less, as well. But once you get to the 77th floor, you fight the true Eve or something like that. It's like the it's from the book, actually. That
Okay.
was like the prequel to this game. It's the first being that was like the original, and Eve was actually just the test subject to see if she can do it, to preserve the original,
So, Sephiroth and Cloud, okay.
something like that.
It's close to it.
But it's actually taking over the form of Maya, Aya's sister that died because of that car accident.
Some emotional weight here for this battle.
And then there's a whole back and forth, Aya losing her ability to control it. She starts like heating up, like she's going to get engulfed in flames, but Maya steps in like, oh no, I still have control over here and whatnot. But it's supposed to be like the true boss of the game. A lot of people disagree whether or not it's canon, because Aya, after that battle, loses all her abilities.
Really?
But if you play the second or the third game in this franchise, she still has her abilities. So there's saying it's not canon to... That would make sense.
Non-canonical.
Yeah.
So there are two things that irked me about this game.
We still on gameplay?
Yes.
Yeah.
These are the only two
Yeah, and
things.
we delved back into story for a second, and
Yeah.
then
The two things that really irked me were there was no map. So when you were like in the park, I was lost for a good hour running into the same places before I found out where I needed to go, and then I was okay. The museum is a clusterfuck maze.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, the museum sucked.
The museum
yeah, the
sucked.
museum was bad.
So I understand
Ralph,
why
I'm
they didn't
still
want to
stuck in the
do.
museum.
I do, but no, that was it. That was the most terrible part of the game.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs and grasshoppers.
But I get it that they didn't want to put in a map because you're not going to have that ability, I guess, for her. She's going to be a cop walking around. It's more realistic.
It's a PE ability. You'll unlock it at 45.
Liar.
Map.
The other thing
Drains
that
your PE meter.
the other thing that irked me so much was when you had a full inventory and you would go to pick something up.
Your
would-
inventory is full.
Well, no, it would say, "Do you want to drop something?"
Oh.
And it would just say, "Do you want to drop something first in order to pick this up?" I don't know what the fuck I'm picking up, so I don't know if I really want it or not. So I would say half my gameplay time is me putting things into an inventory going, no, I want my original item back, and then switching it back out. That really pissed me off. They could have just said, hey, do you want to exchange this for this? Yes. If not, no, I got to get the fuck out of here. Like, that really irked me.
Can't argue that point. You're absolutely right.
All right, so I have one more thing before we roll. Did anyone notice, like, in the middle of the game, for no specific reason, all of a sudden she's like, oh, I don't have any more use for this item. I'm just going to auto-discard it.
Oh yeah, in the
No.
hospital I think is when it kicked in.
Yeah.
Auto
like the
discard?
keys.
Yeah, with the keys, she just all of a sudden starts discarding keys that you don't need. However,
I'm
if I
sorry.
load up my save right now, I have all the keys from the beginning of the game because I didn't know if I was going to fucking need them or not.
Right.
That's a great
It was,
catch,
it was
actually.
stupid. I was like, so did they figure out halfway through the game how to, like, that they have a somewhat annoying inventory system, or did they just... I swear, it's like someone wasn't looking while they were developing it, and then like they had like a project manager come in and was like, "Oh yeah, actually, your inventory system game is fucked. Like, you guys need to like fix this somehow." And they're like,
yeah.
"All right, we'll do it from here on out." Like,
Or on a break, they were playing Resident Evil and realized that when the key is completely useless, like, that you can drop it and
Yeah.
it gets rid of your inventory.
it was a
slot.
really weird thing, and this is one of the few times Square took a shot at making a horror game, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it was the only part that really made me feel intense though was that final chase scene where you're going through the boat. Like that actually did creep me out a little
So
I mean, yeah, but it is the horror genre.
bit. Yeah.
You can't. It's undeniably the horror genre.
Right.
You're looking at and one thing I noticed, and I don't know if anyone else got this vibe. Anyone feel like when you were actually navigating the menus and stuff, it kind of had like that Resident Evil 1 vibe to it,
A little
with
bit.
all the squares on the left hand side, and then just the boxes that weren't filled in with anything until you filled them in. That felt very Resident Evil to me in a way that made me a little nostalgic to boot one of those up.
question for the group: do you guys feel that this game was Squaresoft at this point, Squaresoft's answer to Resident Evil? Was this their attempt
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
cash in
Absolutely.
on that?
Yes, definitely.
That's
Well-
not disputable.
My biggest thing with that is I feel like the sequel to this, Parasite Eve 2, I feel like they just took the Resident Evil game engine, like basically what it's built off of, and try to make a game out of it. And for myself, Parasite Eve 2 is a failure in my eyes.
What system is that on?
PlayStation.
PlayStation.
I have
so-
that one as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure if it was
2
PS2.
came out on PlayStation as well. I feel like when the first one came out, they had something to kind of go off of, which was the book, kind of the movie, which I don't really think it fit with the movie. And honestly,
Did you see the movie?
I did not see it, but at the same time, just seeing,
You have a VHS bootleg of the movie?
I feel like the way the game was portrayed
With Dutch
compared to
subtitles?
even the comic wasn't done justice. All you need to really look at is, like, when I first played this game through, by my stepbrother-in-law, figure out the family relation by that point.
Your stepbrother Law. Got it.
Yeah. He had the strategy guide for Parasite Eve. The way I like to play games is try to play through myself, and then second playthrough, go with the strategy guide. The graphics and the animation on the strategy guide didn't meet up with what the actual game portrayed. Because if you look at the comic and kind of like
There's a comic too.
or the book, or the artwork that came out with the book, or even the strategy guide, they kind of, it's going to sound weird. They kind of sexualized Ava throughout, like, the books a little bit, where it's a lot of cleavage, where she was a little more risque.
Wait, hold on. Aya or Eve?
Aya.
Okay, because you
sorry.
said Ava, and I was like,
All right,
I was like, it's the
The mitochondria have joined.
they kind of sexualized Aya, where even on the strategy guide, what I remember is where it's just her in like a denim jacket with like full cleavage down the middle, where they kind of push her out as like, oh, here's this hot blonde chick that
yeah, Japan.
does
Hey,
some,
hey, I
know,
mean, how
Japan
old
is
were you
weird.
when you were
Hey,
reading this,
I'm not
Steve?
judging them.
How old were you?
Fuck you, fuck you,
Yeah.
fuck you.
Were
That's
you
fine.
taking a gander with the at night under the covers with the
That strategy
flashlight?
guide had sticky pages.
sticky pages?
Well, I can't play through the hospital anymore.
I was 13, so fuck all of you.
Hey, I
but
mean,
go
you know,
ahead
she
and
was
try to
just
take a look at the artwork that was in the strategy guide at the time compared to the actual game.
late
What's he
90s
trying to
Japan
say?
female protagonist.
I'm
Okay,
trying to
got
say
it.
that the game was not represented the way it should have been because it was pushed as something different.
What were you expecting?
Look at it.
There's actually a copy at the J Street Games in King of Prussia.
Huh.
As soon as we
really?
start playing this game, I saw the strategy guide there.
Oh, cool. We should buy
Okay.
Must have been
and
Steve's
what
copy.
it-
I couldn't open that one either.
Great.
that. Sniper
Okay.
Wolf, Parasite Eve.
I hate 3 out of 4 of you. So Hamill, what did you see in the strategy guide and the artwork compared to what you actually saw in the game?
I couldn't open it.
I'm sorry. That's my fault.
No, I
No, that's fine.
no.
You know what? I don't
the
give a
only
shit
thing I
anymore.
really
Fuck
checked
you.
out, because I was still playing it, the only thing I checked
Oh,
out,
okay.
I opened the back and looked at the enemies, and
You looked
I
ahead.
looked at the pictures of the enemies, and I was like, cool, and that's it.
The park isn't the only thing overflowing with goo.
Bird.
Y'all do your own podcast. I don't give a shit. I'm out. Go ahead.
I'm trying to picture Steve's like spank room and when he's got
Why are you trying to picture that?
I just picture like Sniper Wolf, like a full size like poster, and then right next to her is Eve. Not
Hey,
Eve,
Ralph.
I'm sorry.
Ava.
Ralph. Not Eve at all.
Ralph, look in my eyes. You're mine tonight.
Ralph
no.
is profiling
Stare-
the shit out of you,
Stare in
Steve.
my eyes. Go ahead. No, right here.
I can't. I have to look away.
No. Go
I
ahead.
can't. I'm not a blonde ingenue. I'm not going to do it for you.
Continuing on.
Yeah.
Graphics.
So what do we all think of the graphics?
They were there. I mean, it
were.
was graphics for. I mean, they were cool. The enemies looked pretty cool. I liked how a lot of the enemies had different design. Like, they were different. You could tell what you were fighting. It wasn't something with just a different color palette. These were pretty much all unique enemies.
There were a few that had different color palettes. Like, there were different colored snakes and stuff like that in the zoo. But, yeah, I pretty much agree. The graphics were pretty cool. I got creeped out by some of the graphics in one of the movies. Mm-hmm. And it's just, you know, for the time that it came out, it was on par with, I think, everything else.
Yeah.
That I really did enjoy the FMVs. I think they put a lot of work into it, and it really kind of brought you into where, you know, PlayStation was at the time, where they were trying to push the limits of the actual console, and I really think they delivered on that too.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I played Silent Hill first, but I felt like the FMVs in Parasite Eve were not as good, and I know that this game came out earlier.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that like Silent Hill graphically, I can see the difference. I can see that Silent Hill is an improvement. I know it's not the same company or anything, but the FMVs to me were well thought out, but I didn't think that they really looked that good. I mean, they were freaky, and what you were seeing, you know, it all translated, but the quality to me wasn't really there. Everything else, I did kind of like the character models. They're very reminiscent of, like I said before, Final Fantasy VIII characters. I don't see any major flaws with the graphics, but they didn't knock my socks off.
I think it really it captured me from the very first one, where you just saw everybody catching fire, and then even like throughout, like when you were in the park and people just started oozing into this like weird orange slime. It really kind of, I don't know, it was kind of reminiscent of the. It sounds weird to kind of put the two together, but Final Fantasy VII, but with the cutscenes, like when they really put that in, where they put the effort and the time into it, and where it really kind of separated from, you know, the kind of blocky type of movement and like your everyday gameplay, and then kind of took it to another level.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, actually. The character models from the FMVs look similar, whereas Final Fantasy got the big production on the backgrounds and stuff, where this game didn't quite get that in the FMVs, at least. It's going to be really weird, but like the face shapes and the eyelids,
Weird,
and
right?
Yeah, but it's Final Fantasy VII weird. They're almost identical.
In like an anime style.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you make the comparison from Final Fantasy VII to Final Fantasy VIII, where everyone's like more tall and
Realistic.
slender and a little more human looking. Yeah.
I think 8 was the closest game to human-looking characters, to be honest with you.
Of that time, yeah, absolutely.
No, I don't have too much. I don't actually have anything negative to say. I think it looked good. I liked the CG cutscenes. I even like the speeding like through the city. Just like that whole perspective. I thought it was cool just from the back seat, seeing Maida leaning on the two front seats, having that dialogue in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I overall like the look of the game. I like the whole negative look when you're jumping into battle, how everything just goes negative, basically.
Black and white almost.
Yeah, that's really all I have to say on the graphics. I like the look of the game.
Oh, I will say their fire game's on point in this game. Like the fire actually looks really good in the game for the time period.
I would hope so, because
Everything is on fire.
Yeah,
in that game.
considering
pretty
the
much
story,
at
yeah,
one point
they-
or another.
They fleshed the fire out well. I'd agree.
Music is next.
Music.
I thought it was a bit linear when they tried doing the opera, and there was that weird, like, kind of symphonic thing. I didn't like it. I understand what they were going for, but I didn't appreciate it. I don't.
It's weird. When I was thinking of the music, I didn't even consider the opera. Like, that was so far. I didn't think about the opera at all until you mentioned it. Everything I kept thinking about was the action, like just when you're in the police station, when you're in battles and everything. I was getting like an 80s, 90s action movie kind of feel to
I know
it.
exactly
Yeah.
what you're
And
talking
I
about.
loved that. This was one of the games I didn't turn to a podcast like something else. I was listening to the music because I really, really enjoyed it.
I like the opera, and there's a variation of it. I think it happens during a couple scenes in the game. What was it? When the crowd turns to the blob, I think they played it. There's a couple. I don't know. I'll have to look it up and share it with you guys later. But there is a variation of the opera song that I thought was really catchy, and it had like this. Like they used this opera tone over and over again for Eve, but then they threw this beat underneath of it during certain scenes of the game. It's totally solid. But the one thing, as far as music goes, I did not like how certain dialogue scenes in the game had no background music at all. I thought it was very out of place and took me out of the game a little bit. It's just too quiet. Like there should have been something playing in the background.
Yeah, I mean, I like the music. I appreciated like the like Hamill was saying, like the 80s, 90s kind of feel to it. But nothing sticks with me. Like if you asked me to hum a single tune from that right now, I could probably not do it. It's okay while you're playing the game. Nothing really super sticks to me. It's really all I have to say about the music.
You're not going to find me going to a vintage like record store trying to find the soundtrack to Parasite Eve. For the
I don't think you
PlayStation.
could.
No, you're right. You're right. You couldn't. I'm not going to scour like thrift shops and things like that to try to find it. I honestly think they were going for something, and it didn't come to fruition for me. I don't normally give negative reviews for music in games. I would say that I'm a bit of a stickler when it comes to it. You know, I really enjoy soundtracks to movies and video games, and I listen to that stuff in my spare time. There was really nothing here that I really enjoyed. None of it. I don't know why. Like the battle theme got stuck in my head, and it kind of reminded me of in Smash Brothers Melee. There's that. What's the one event where you have to hit the beanbag like as far as you can?
The home run.
The home run
I have
thing.
no fucking idea.
And when you try to get the goal, at least when I played it, I would do that segment over and over and over again. Like, and you would do the damage on the sandbag, and then you'd hit it. And if you would like miss hit it, you could push, I think, start to reset the whole thing. So you would hear that clip of music for that segment over and over and over and over again, and it's stuck in my mind. And that clip reminds me of the battle theme in Parasite Eve. Now I know that this game came first, but I was exposed to that first and then heard this, and that's the only real thing that kind of sticks in my mind, the battle music, but it got old by day 3 for me. And honestly, I just didn't dig it. I don't know why.
Would you say the music didn't evolve?
Oh.
I'll tell you that my mitochondria didn't react at all. I'll just put it that way.
Oh.
The only other thing the only other thing I wrote down for music was it seemed really, really out of place for me when you find out Ben went to go look for the dog. It was quiet, and then once you find out, the music just start popping off like a motherfucker, and it just seemed really out of place, and I'm like, is this something we should be really concerned about? Because the way that they just brought the music in made me feel like I should be panicked and I should get to Ben as soon as possible. Because at the time, I did not know it was going to evolve into what it did. But that just stuck out to me that the music ramped up really oddly.
Final thoughts.
Harry, what are your final thoughts?
I think it's a fun game to play. I like the battle system. I like the level of customization in this game between the battle points, however you want to distribute them, the tools and mod permits, however you want to modify your weapons. You could choose any gun and really make it a god gun at some point in the game. The abilities you can pull off of different guns, the abilities you could stack on different armor pieces. Yeah, I don't know. I just I feel like there's a little bit more customization with your loadout than I think a lot of people might consider when playing this game, and I definitely dig that aspect of this game. I like that it's a short game. You can just kind of breeze through it, absorb the story. I think it's pretty heavy on the story, and I think that's one of the more solid aspects of this game because I think it's a very unique story as well. But no, overall, I think it's a solid game. I enjoyed playing it, and I recommend it to other players.
Awesome. Mr. Clark?
I really enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed the battle system. Was kind of new and unique for me, at least. And again, I actually don't know if there's any other games that are like that with the battle system. If you guys know them, or if the listeners know them, hit me up with some more suggestions if you guys know more games like this. I would totally love to play more games like this. The story, even though it gets kind of wacky and weird with we're talking about mitochondria and germs and nucleus and stuff like that, I like it for what it is. I really appreciated how weird and goofy and frankly Japanese this game got.
It got weird.
Yeah, but in a New York setting, and just getting to see how they would tell a tale here. With a strong female lead, which was also refreshing, especially for that time. You're looking at Lara Croft and the 2 women from Fear Effect and Parasite Eve. That's what you're looking at for strong female leads. I really appreciated it.
I guess you don't count the master of unlocking, Jill Valentine.
I would even say she's the lead character in that game.
She was almost a Jill sandwich.
Ralph, what do you think about that?
All right, so Parasite Eve, again, to reiterate, it was one of those games that I knew it existed, but I didn't know a whole lot about it going into it. I was more excited to get started than to finish it, which
Apparently,
I
'cause
still
you
haven't done. Yeah, in case you guys didn't pick up, I'm on day 5. I'm in the museum. I haven't fought the T-Rex yet. I got to admit, it was hard for me to push myself to play this game. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but there are aspects that I like. I really like basically an homage to Danny Glover's movie roles in Daniel. I do like the battle system. I really feel like we're all hitting the same note on that one. The battle system was refreshing. The story to me is interesting, but the game as a whole, I probably would never have bought it if it wasn't for our review, and I probably need to sit down and really dig into the weapon building and crafting and the tool system and everything, and I probably have more fun with it. Even though I didn't enjoy it that much, I think I'm probably going to replay it and get all the way through it.
It's good to hear.
Yeah, Ham
Jam.
So this is a game I really enjoyed from the start to the end. I loved almost everything about it except my minor fuck ups with the tools. There's so many guns that I didn't find. There are tons of items I didn't even pick up, like the baseball card or the gun cards or whatever, which I think they don't even bring in until you do the New Game Plus. And there's just a ton of extra shit in the New Game Plus that I want to go back. And this is one of the games that I really want to play over and over if I have the time. So I just thoroughly enjoyed the game.
I was very excited to get to play this again because it's been literally over a decade, and I'm very glad I got to share this with everybody. It's a very interesting storyline. The battle system, at least for me, is a little different than a lot of other things that we've experienced, but at the same time, it's frustrating. It makes you angry, but at the same point, it makes you want to play it and beat it even more, which is something that I'm glad I got to share with everybody.
And you have the player's guide in your basement.
That's beside the point, you son of a bitch. All right.
The score.
How would you grade this game? Ralph?
I'm going pretty low.
Oh.
I can't. I don't think I want to give it more than a 70%.
Ooh.
So again, this is obviously nowhere near No Man's Sky territory or anything like that. But
I love
me-
how that's our basis for
Well, it
everything.
is. That's our
No
low.
Man's Sky. No,
That's
it's
our
not
low
that
man
shitty.
on the pole.
That
right
is
now.
the bottom of the barrel. I don't think it deserves to be rated that anything crazy low like that. But for me, I think a 70%. That's where I'm at with it.
Ham Jam? Baby
So-
cakes?
This is a game
Babyface Hamill.
because of all the replay value and everything. I'm gonna say $39.99 game.
Holy
$40.
Wow.
This is a game. There's so much you can do. Even with the playthrough and everything, you can go back and there's so much you can find and do. And it's short, so it's not like it takes hours and hours. So $40 game.
Damn, Hamill.
I'm surprised.
So I'm going to say 7.5, which is... Ooh, that is above Metal Gear Solid for me, but below Silent Hill.
Clark's shaking his head.
I'm sorry. I think it's a better
Kojima
game.
will find you.
If
and he
I
will
okay,
kill
if
you.
I had Metal Gear Solid and Parasite Eve in front of me, I would opt 9 times out of 10 to play Parasite Eve.
Agreed.
I'm going to continue with my arbitrary. I'm going to give this 3 replaced corneas out of 7 7 ultra powered mitochondria attacking my nucleus.
I like it.
Come at my nucleus, bro.
Do you even mitochondria?
I'm going to give this game an A. Just flat A. I enjoy the story. Gameplay's okay, but it's up there, but it's not, cream of the crop.
This is your highest rated game, I believe.
No, I think he did
No.
A+ for Silent Hill.
Mm-hmm.
No.
No,
A
A
was
minus.
No, he did an A for Silent Hill, A- for Metal Gear Solid. So he, like me again, is rating this game higher than Metal Gear Solid.
Which is
I
almost
just
blasphemy,
can't
but
see that.
I will actually grade this a little bit higher than the original Metal Gear. Original Metal Gear Solid. Okay. Just for the purist out there. Don't shake your head at me, you son of a bitch.
I'm baffled.
I don't understand.
No,
I feel I've been bamboozled. It's like I don't know you, Steve.
yeah,
All right.
No, you don't. That's okay.
So what are we playing next, guys?
Who are you?
Next game on deck is XCOM 2 for the PlayStation 4.
I don't think it really matters.
I have
Yeah.
it for PC.
Yeah, Ralph will be playing it on PC.
Oh. All right. Well, what's everybody else playing it on?
PS4.
Oh,
I mean, if
okay.
if you
PS4.
need, I can maybe get my controller to work.
No.
for
Don't
me.
care.
That's pretty,
You're fine.
you know.
Nope.
I mean, jeez.
Here's me, and here's me giving the shit.
Steve is now taking a shit.
Right now.
He has the Vita in his hands.
He has perfect form. Oh my
damn
God,
it.
he does. You know what? I would have beat this game if I had it on the Vita.
Yeah, I bet. I bet you would have.
Of course.
Steve, I'm gonna give that shit an A.
It's
Tied
pretty.
with Metal Gear Solid.
I'm gonna give it a 69%.
Hey, Harry, would you say
Ooh,
it's
good
pretty
number.
solid?
Yeah.
All right, so we have a poll on our Facebook where you can go and vote. We will be taking that down when we record the XCOM
Episode?
Yeah, when
Yeah.
we record the XCOM 2 episode. Yeah, so please go to our Facebook page, give that a like, and also check out the survey and vote.
Yeah.
America.
Fuck yeah.
Go.
You're getting to that
All right, so why
delirious
don't-
stage.
Why don't we dive into some questions from our listeners?
Question time. Brr, 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 brr.
Emil, you got one that you want to read?
Sure. Rich Jet asks, will any of you be playing the new South Park RPG, and have you played the previous one?
I have not, but I would like to.
The Stick of Truth, I guess, is that the one he means?
Stick of Truth is the original.
The-
Fractured Butthole is the new one coming out.
Yeah. No, I actually want to play both. Actually, that would be a great submission for the podcast at some point.
Yeah. I've been playing through Stick of Truth, like when I just get every like 20 minutes or so. It's pretty fun. I've been enjoying it. I definitely look forward to Fractured Butthole.
What console do you play that on?
PS4.
I have not played Stick of Truth, although Clark has told me to play that and then just play the next one. So it's on my list amongst everything else that I have to do for this podcast, but that's okay.
I play my Stick of Truth every night, but I don't know what you guys are talking about. No, honestly, I am not a huge South Park fan. I mean, I'm a fan of RPGs. I believe I know enough about the universe that I could get through it, and I've heard good things about it, but never played it, but I'd like to.
Played the first one. I really enjoyed it, and I will be getting the second one.
What is a game you most regret buying immediately at launch instead of waiting for a good number of reviews to come in? And that is by Daryl 100mark.
No Man's Sky.
No Man's
No
Sky.
Man's
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky.
If you haven't listened to that podcast, all of us.
Uno.
No Man's Sky.
Well,
No
I
Man's Sky.
I didn't buy No Man's.
Yeah, neither did I. but-
Okay, so do you guys have a different?
No, I'm stuck on No Man's
just
Sky
had it. I
because
lost
I will say that is the
Yeah.
one and only game I ever borrowed from somebody, and it's been about 3 months, and they haven't asked for it back by this point. So that kind of proves a point right there. That's why I do my research before I buy shit.
Mine's at GameStop for some dumb sap to buy for an overpriced.
Yeah, right. They gave you back 14 cents, and it's on sale for $48.99.
I got $8 for it.
Really? Well, you
Yes.
got in when the good getting's good.
Yeah.
you did.
Because
That
you
was
don't
with
get
that was with
anymore.
a 50% trading credit too.
Christ.
You know, guys, honestly, I'm blanking. I don't normally buy games like brand spanking new. Some games I'll get a review for it. The closest thing I can think of is I had a friend who will remain nameless, and he was way hyped for Brink, and
Oh boy.
he bought Brink, and I think we played the crap out of it, realizing far too early that, despite we didn't like stop playing it. Basically, it was like, okay, we're setting our ways. We got to play this we got to see it to the end. But Brink was just garbage. If you can pick it up for 99 cents, skip it.
Nice.
Steve, you got one there?
All right, yeah, we have another one here from Ryan Horger. When Aerith died in Final Fantasy VII, did it play with your heartstrings? I personally will say, yeah, that was pretty damn sad.
Wait, Eris dies?
Spoiler alert. Yeah, that was
Did they say Aerith or Eris?
No, it's Aerith. There is no Aerith.
Well, he said Aerith, but I wasn't going to judge him on it. Way to call him out on that.
I'm
Dick.
judging.
I was trying to be nice about it.
You're
But-
judging?
I'm judging.
There's a lot of people that believe that's the proper interpretation of
I
it.
think they're wrong though.
Either way, when her character died, did it tug your heartstrings to make
Yeah,
you
a little bit.
sad? It did with me because I think she was already involved with the storyline and everything else that was going along with Final Fantasy VII. That it, what are you, a heartless bastard?
I don't really know how to put this other than say that I didn't. I learned about that spoiler before playing the game, so that's one of the biggest video game twists there are, and I knew about it
So
going
you're
into Final Fantasy VII.
You'll be completely desensitized to it then.
So it's like, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have emotional weight with the character that I've been playing as, and have been working on building her stats and all that, and part of the story. But I know it's coming. I won't cry a tear or anything. I won't shed
You
a tear.
just have a cold, dead heart.
Bad.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I
You
think
can
it was
admit it.
all the music at that scene, to be honest with you. I don't
Yeah,
think it had
that's-
anything to do with the actual scene.
It's a really powerful scene.
Considering they look like animated Lego blocks or whatever. Yeah.
No,
it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
It's FMV at
Yeah.
that point. Him like lifting her out of the water and stuff. It's like really sad, and you see the materia drop out of her.
No Phoenix down will save.
Ultima Phoenix down. Go.
Question.
Wait,
Sure.
Harry, you didn't answer your Eris.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I said it a little bit. I'm not going to say. No game has ever tear jerked me, though. Sorry.
No jerking for games for you.
Not even The Last of Us? The opening scene of The Last of Us? You
I don't
didn't
know.
show,
I
you
don't-
can get a little moist?
I don't think any of us.
A little moist in the eye?
Does anyone know?
Bless you.
So this is from Rich.
Blah, 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 blah.
Does anyone own or will anyone own one of the new classic systems that have been released recently? Thoughts? So I'm going to guess this is like the one that they have at like J Street Games, the Retron.
No.
No,
The new classic stuff
the new
is
NES.
Yeah, there's like an NES that has like 30 games built into it.
They also
It's
did
like
that with the
mini-
Genesis.
and it can hook up to HDMI and stuff like that.
They did that with the Genesis a couple years ago, and it looks like Nintendo's trying to follow suit, and obviously they understocked the whole thing.
On purpose, because Nintendo fucking does that.
Yeah,
Yes, they do.
Supply and demand.
Yeah.
Because they've
False,
been
false demand.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
I don't know. I feel like there's been a lot
of.
of those like plug and play kind of things, and they always limit the amount of games that are available. It's
Well,
like,
sure.
oh,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, like, cool. You know what would really get me invested? An entire library. I'll go balls deep on that.
But would you pay like $400 or $500 for it?
For an entire library, probably. I'm a collectionist. I don't like doing partial things.
Yeah,
but
but-
I don't know. Just for like even like 40 games, not worth it to me. Sorry.
No, but you can also, like, if you have the old games, you could still play them too. So, like, your Super Nintendo collection, if they redid one of those, you can still pop those in and play.
That is not true.
They did that with
What?
the
What are you
Genesis
talking
one.
about?
You can't do that with the classic.
The NES
You
Classic,
can't?
you can't.
No.
Then what's the
No.
fucking point of it?
It's a Raspberry Pi that has 30
games on it.
Really?
I'd rather build my own Raspberry Pi.
That's
It'd be much more
Wouldn't
interesting.
you bake it though?
You're dead.
God. Oh my God, it's terrible.
And then stick
Don't
your
give me that
dick in
fucking
it.
look, Ralph.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Or all I need to do is actually hook up a power supply and coaxial cable and just have my regular Nintendo, or I'm sorry, original Nintendo or Super Nintendo, and play the games that are there instead of getting around the hype for another $70-$80 for 30 preloaded
I think it's
generic
60,
games.
but yeah, generic.
it's-
generic.
Yeah.
How
generic.
dare you call Nintendo generic?
Oh, I'm sorry. I get Super Mario Brothers and
Yeah,
Centipede
no.
on something.
I don't think it gets.
I have 2 Atari sitting at home. I don't give a shit about this retro type of thing. Just go out and buy the goddamn system itself instead of, oh, it's 2016. I'm going to wait 2.5 months to get this thing that I can hook up through HDMI. I think it's bullshit, honestly.
If Nintendo had shipped 10 million of those, I'd have one. I would have bought one.
If it
Just
was
saying.
readily available in front of me, even for purchase for $30, still wouldn't buy it. I think it's dumb.
Okay.
Just saying.
$30, I might pick one of those up.
Might. Your
60's a
keyword.
bit steep. I'll admit that. And I
Yeah.
already have a Wii U. I mean, a lot of the games that are emulated on that, I can get on the Virtual Console.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's another big problem. Like, oh, it's like a cute little. It's not even original size.
Nope.
It's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And it has an HDMI out, which is
And-
nice. I would like to see the uprising on it, but
The controller cord is like really short on it too. It's a blunder as far as I'm concerned. From
yeah,
Nintendo.
it's
and they can't
pretty-
afford another blunder.
No, they can't.
Who, Nintendo?
Nintendo.
I still think they have a ton of fucking money in the bank.
They do
they-
not. They've actually been struggling.
I actually think Harry's right when it comes to like actual like capital or whatever. The company has plenty. They could operate at a financial loss for like the next 100 years and be okay, is the way I understood, because a lot of their assets are cash. I know this is crazy. You can look it up.
No, because a lot of people talk about this too. Like they're
Right.
just sitting on so much fucking money.
Yes.
Like it's insane.
Well, when you build a brand like that, you're going to have it. And especially because it's one of the very few companies that actually are more geared towards family. Where you go with Microsoft with Xbox or Sony with PlayStation, they're trying to really get to the core gamers where, Nintendo came out with, the Wii originally. to get
Ryu.
Ryu
Street
originally.
Fighter.
To get up and like, move around a little bit. Oh, here's a Wii Fit board. Oh, here's the Wii U so you can play off the rest of it, which, Vita was already one step ahead of the game with that, but they actually have the backing where they could just sit around for a little bit, see a little bit of loss, year after year, but it's not going to affect them in like the big scale.
The Wii U hurt them considerably.
Yeah, but it may be like year after year they're losing a little bit of profit, but in the grand scheme of things, they're sitting pretty.
Right. What I was trying to say was that basically Nintendo with the Wii U, it has been a commercial failure. They don't have anything to sell for Christmas this year. The Nintendo Switch was pushed to March. So to me, the Wii U was a blunder. This NES Classic being undershipped is a blunder. The device itself may even be a blunder because of the way it's designed. They have plenty of capital, I think. They have enough money. But I still want them to get a win. I still want them to stay in the console business and keep doing that. Could they operate for a loss for the next 50 years? Maybe. I was just making the point that they really can't afford another blunder. Like, the Nintendo Switch has to be a good deal. How did we get on this topic? What was the question?
It was about the classic.
The classic.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Jeez.
And
Yeah.
we're talking about how like Nintendo is kind of fucking around with their financials
Right.
in a pretty bad way. Although I will say, I'm the opposite of that. I actually would prefer that they focus on handhelds
Yeah.
and maybe see Mario on Xbox or PlayStation.
Trying
I'm
to sell it out a little bit. I mean, not saying sell out, but I mean, kinda
yeah,
like
I
expand
would
it.
I would like to see Mario or Link on like a PlayStation. I would them go the way that Sega did, except for they have way more
Good
money
games.
yeah, good games, and they don't have to fall like Sonic did. Whereas Mario is still, he'll go sell 1 million units, but if you sell it on a PlayStation or an Xbox,
You have
where
the
there's
install base.
yeah, you have an install base that's quadruple what they have. And I'll tell you right now, no one's going to have Switches for the first 2 years that they fucking come out.
No.
Everyone's going to want one, but no one's going to get one. And if they don't learn from that business practice, they'll go bankrupt or they'll get out of the console business eventually.
Well, to the point that you were saying, I honestly really think that handhelds are a dying breed. We all have smartphones by this point. And that's nothing to take away that from the graphics and everything else they can put into handhelds, but I really think they are on their way out for the most part.
No,
No.
sorry. One point I want to make though: if Nintendo wants to sell consoles, this is something that's been talked about for years now. They need to make a 3D Pokemon game for a console. They need to get away from the handhelds. I guarantee that fucking franchise will sell the systems for them. That could be like their only launch game.
They don't own Pokemon. Niantic does.
Yeah, but they work very closely with Nintendo.
I think
True.
Harry's got a point. He's just trying to say that would be a system seller.
So basically, make your Sony VR, but Nintendo, and then find a way to throw Pokeballs at something, which they already.
No, it doesn't even have to be VR.
It doesn't have to be an augmented game, sort of like Pokemon Go. He's just saying in general, a regular RPG Pokemon for a console. They've never done it.
Like
for
Skyrim,
for a home console.
like Skyrim,
A
but
Skyrim
Pokemon, Kyle.
Pokemon. I'm not gonna lie.
Poke-Sky.
Poke-Sky.
Pokerim.
Oh. Johnny McKenna, replace your favorite protagonist or antagonist with Bob the Builder. How does that go?
A lot of disappointed children, one way or another.
I think
Bob dies.
I need to know more about Bob the Builder. I just know he's like a
He's this
construction
guy.
worker.
He goes around and builds things. He sings little tunes with his little truck buddies.
Yeah, he's got a little bulldozer who's like all on his side. So if he's a protagonist, hey, I build stuff and destroy monsters. If he's antagonist, oh, I have my own bulldozer turn against me, and then he's plowed into the earth. And then again, children just cry because it's Bob the Builder. and he
Okay,
dies.
so let's refocus on the question.
Yeah, no, that is my answer.
Replace your favorite protagonist or antagonist with Bob the Builder.
Okay, so favorite protagonist with Bob the Builder. Bob the Builder is running through the cold plains of Alaska trying to stop this giant metal nuclear.
That's not your
walking
favorite
warhead.
game.
That
No, I'm
can't be your
kidding.
favorite game. How can that be your favorite game? You just rated Parasite Eve higher, didn't you?
Metal Gear Solid. I never talked about 3, 4. Okay, so Ralph, with your little smarty pants over here, I would hope my protagonist Bob the Builder would call his bulldozer buddies and plow you into the ground like Vulcan Raven.
Colonel, I
You
built
son
this
of a
wall.
bitch. What's happening? Why is this going on?
Oh, Colonel, can we fix it?
Yes, we can.
Where's my hammer? I hid my tool belt in my stomach.
Solid the Snake. Yes, we can.
I couldn't tell you who my favorite protagonist or antagonist is right off the top of my head, so I'm just going to pretend that it's Ganondorf and that Bob the Builder is Ganon in, let's say, Ocarina of Time. It's just a farce at that point, and I can't see it being anything other than a goofy...
He builds his own castles.
to
house Zelda
He
in.
kind of does.
And-
He builds a prison.
Throws construction equipment at you while you throw your boomerang and flute and your little flute.
Skank! There you go.
Flute.
Flute.
Hamill, it's all you.
I guess protagonist would be from Kingdom Hearts.
Yes.
Give Bob a Keyblade and he can do it.
You wouldn't have to change much about the story, would you?
Can
That's
we
like
fix
that.
it? Yes, we can.
Gosh, Bob, maybe we should build something.
I got nothing.
Harry Mason is Bob the Builder.
That'd be
He'll build the
seen
bridge
this
and get
little
the fuck
girl?
out of there.
Yeah.
We have.
build a bridge.
Yeah. It'd be the shortest Silent Hill ever.
Oh, that was easy.
I'm trying to build my daughter. She's about 7 years old. Short brown hair.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
So I don't know if I could actually like think of really where I would place him, but I've been thinking about like just like scenarios that would be really funny.
Well, wait,
Him-
it would be Joel from The Last of Us, right?
Oh god.
That's his favorite.
antagonist.
It was
Yeah.
antagonist is Joel.
No, but it'd be funny to see him like as Master Chief, where he's like on the back of a ship as they're about to all drop in, and just be like, can we fix it? And then like this whole crew is like, yes, we, and they just get all fucking shot up with lasers. And she's like just trying to patch these guys up with like wood and a fucking drill.
No.
Yeah. No.
Not like this. Not like this.
He couldn't do it.
He couldn't do it.
For each of you, which game on what console did you sink the most time into? This is from Bob Zadoyko. I think I know Harry's answer, but I'm curious for the rest of you guys. And go.
Bob, that's really easy. First one is Fallout 3 on PS3, Game of the Year edition.
How much time?
Easily over 130 hours for everything.
Okay.
Main storyline, side missions, and I am a loot and exploring horror where I want everything I can in a game, and that always left me wanting more because there was always more to get. And if I didn't get it the first time, I would just start a new character and keep going through, and that's the game that keeps on giving.
I know mine.
Yeah, mine's gonna be Left 4 Dead. Spent hundreds of hours playing that game and like perfecting strategies and things like that. Like we actually played on a competitive team, where we rose through the Game Battles website to be a top 10 team. But it's not the most I've ever spent on a game. Final Fantasy XI on PC and Xbox 360 at times, but I believe it was 4 months time into the game.
There's no way.
Yeah.
4 months?
Because I did
Yes.
3.5 months on 11. I think I played the shit out of that game.
That's in-game
Harry,
time.
I played for almost a year more than you did.
That's 720 hours a month.
Yeah.
That's 2,800 hours.
I contest.
So yeah, the year I lived at college, I just played Final Fantasy 11 every moment I was not in class. I put 3.5 months login time into that game.
Really? 3.5?
Yeah, it's not that hard of a thing to do. You should our friend Joe, you should ask him how much time he had
he
logged
probably
into
has
the game.
the highest login among all
Joe
of us.
really didn't have a lot to do sitting in Korea, other than
Should probably explain he was in the military.
Yeah.
No, he just lived there for a little bit just
Good
because
point.
it was fun.
Checking out those girls that spin.
Oh God.
Sorry, Joe.
Okay.
But he didn't actually do that. Well, I would like to
No.
clarify.
No,
Hamill?
it's just
It's a great story though.
yeah, Hamill.
It is a funny story.
A lot of games I play don't have a timer in it. So the ones I can think of was either Resident Evil Outbreak 2, Destiny, Guitar Hero 2,
Destiny doesn't have a timer?
or Kingdom Hearts 2. Those are the games I probably sunk the most time into.
Actually, yeah, because Guitar Hero did not have a time on it.
No,
I probably played more Guitar Hero than I did Fallout.
I my whole freshman year at college at Guitar Hero 2 was all I did. That's all I did.
There was a lot of Guitar Hero that happened.
Lots of Guitar
A
Hero.
lot of Guitar Hero.
Lots of drinks and other stuff.
Yes.
Then other things happened.
Okay, so for me, I'm sort of in the same boat as Hamill, where I think a lot of the games that I played long periods of time don't have timers. If I had to put it into one console, it's probably the N64 that I've put the most time into, because I played Ocarina of Time 7 times, and then I played Majora's Mask and Perfect Dark and GoldenEye. I have sunk probably the most amount of time into the Nintendo 64. The only thing that comes close is PC. Now, for PC with Steam, I do have all those times. I know how much time I've spent in every game, and currently, the number one that I have is I have 350 hours into 7 Days to Die.
Holy
But
shit.
I would not even put that in my top 10 favorite games of all time, which is really weird when you stop and think about the amount of time that I put into it and where I would rate it. I have to assume that probably Ocarina is the game that I put the most time into, but I don't have any hard facts.
Michelle Moses put, what is the best video game soundtrack for Sega CD? I mean,
Video
I've
game
never played.
soundtrack?
Yeah, so like, what game? Like, I've never played the Sega CD, so I
Echo
have
the
no-
Dolphin.
I have a Sega CD. I have Snatcher for Sega CD.
Yeah, I bet you do.
No, I do.
God.
Snatcher is a game that Kojima made in between Metal Gear 2 and Metal Gear Solid. And it was a gift from my very close friend, Bob Zadoyko. Thank you, Bob. It's probably Sonic CD. I mean, there aren't that many games.
No.
And I think Sonic CD has a good soundtrack from what I
That's a
understand.
hard
So
question.
I've never had a Sega CD.
Okay.
However, I spent, oddly enough, today listening to an hour of songs from different Sega CD games.
Is that because you saw the question or just
Yeah,
randomly?
it's because I saw the question.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to like not have an answer for it because it seemed like very obscure, and I just wanted to,
Yeah.
have an answer for it. So, 3 things stuck out to me. Batman Returns on Sega CD has this really crazy techno soundtrack for Batman.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty badass, honestly. There's a game called Lords of Thunder, which is pixelated death metal. It's awesome. It's like 16 or 32-bit, I guess.
32, I guess, yeah.
Death metal on Sega CD. It's kind of cool. And also there is a game that's on Sega CD that's also on PlayStation, which I loved, Lunar Eternal Blue, which is a great game.
And it has a soundtrack.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
Yes. I have that soundtrack actually on a CD.
Oh, cool.
I'm just enamored of the fact that someone asked a question about Sega CD.
I'm
'cause
not. Thank
it
you,
was
Michelle. Thank
yeah,
you.
Michelle,
Thank
that's,
you.
That's awesome. Because I think I only had 3 games for it, which was
Wait,
Sonic
you had
C-
one as a kid?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool.
This was, of course, way after it came out, but I was always several generations behind, just with the way.
Sorry, if you don't mind me chiming in, where did this fall in the timeline of systems? I really don't remember Sega CD.
This was actually before PlayStation. Sega CD was one of the first CD consoles.
So was it after like
Sega
Super
Genesis.
Nintendo, Sega Genesis,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
before like that next
Pretty
era?
much what you would have your Sega Genesis, and it would hook on because there was like a little port on the side that you would slide your Genesis into, and then the Sega CD, or at least the version I had, was underneath, so it was almost kind of like a double console.
Oh, you had the first model.
Yeah, and so you would just pretty much push out the tray to insert the CD disc, and then it would go back in. So there was the ones that I remember was Sonic CD, because it was Sega, so obviously they're going to have a Sonic game. The other one was an arcade game. Was it Lethal
Enforcers?
Yes,
Probably.
that was the other one that I had, where it was like one of the other than Duck Hunt, it was one of the other like first peripheral ones where you actually had like a light gun to shoot at the TV. And then I think the only one that really sticks out of my mind, which was I think that kind of got me into almost the RPG kind of like mystery thing, was called Rise of the Dragon. And it was a little more linear, where it kind of put you on this set path, but you could adventure off and you would have to find clues to get to the next spot. Well, thank you everybody for your questions. It's awesome. Glad to hear out from everybody that's out there. Again, you can find us on Twitter at SuperFunPodcast. You can find us on Facebook.com/SuperFunPodcast or Patreon/SuperFunPodcast. If you have any questions, you can find us on there or send us an email at superfunpodcastgo@gmail.com.
Go.
And
Go.
Go.
thank you. Next game that we'll be reviewing is XCOM 2. There may be a special guest or so stay tuned.
Special guest.
Special guest.
Aliens?
But thank you for joining us again on behalf of Ralph DiStefano,
That's me.
Matt Babycakes Hamill,
Hey.
Harry Rodriguez Bowles, Clark Main Clark,
The Clarkmeister.
and Steve, your Finn Dom Smith. We will catch you
Still
next
don't know
time.
what that means.
Look it
I'll
up.
teach you.
There's Google.
I don't want to Google that.
I'll teach you real quick.
Oh, God.
You'll have to burn your computer afterwards.
Probably. You'll be on a
Likely.
list.
Likely.
All right. Take care, everybody.
And,
Until next time.
And we're
Go!
go.
Go!
Go.
Bye.
Go! Bye! Go! Go! Go!
Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over.